Welcome back to the Daily Dose. We messed up. We're starting all over again. Introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madeline Ilalaji. I'm the Business Development Manager of Joko Labs Banjul, and I'm also the Secretary of the Information Technology Association of the Gambia. Thank you.
Okay, I was brief. Straight to the point, Kausi.
Hello, my name is Kausu Jabi. I'm a Gambian by nationality. I founded Kids in Technology, a place where kids learn many cutting-edge technological skills like robotics, Internet of Things, coding, AI, and so many other things. And also I'm running a software development company, Pro Technology. We develop custom softwares for companies. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mo.
Hello, guys. My name is Mouru Jallo, and I'm a data scientist by profession. I founded GoMindz and GoMindz Academy, and I am currently the CEO of GoMindz.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Fatmata Danso, data analyst at GoMindz, and an AI honestly a bit obsessed about AI enthusiast.
So AI, IT. Let's start with the IT because she's the outcast in this panel. So, like, what are some of the things that you guys are involved in, projects-wise, project implementation? What does your company do? What do you do personally?
Okay. In Joko Labs Banjul, we are a social change hub, and our work focuses on ICT for development and education. We do work focused on the core pillars of the Joko Labs mandate: collaboration, community, research, and creativity, bringing together entrepreneurs to dive into things that they are interested in, especially working with women, youth, and children. Women in rural Gambia, those in agriculture, and those into small businesses, helping them be able to bring their products online, be able to better market, as well as also provide them with digital literacy skills through a digital literacy advocacy program as part of women and youth inclusion projects. We also do a lot of work with children, especially working with them to find alternative ways to innovative teaching through coding, design thinking, and creative reading and writing. Personally, I am very much into education, especially literacy education and digital literacy education. Because I believe that there is a lot of gaps that we can really address when we look at the foundational setting, working with children and also working with young people, trying to find ways we could take projects that are within our communities to replicate models on them in design thinking before they even begin to work on the coding with Scratch and then later on with Python. I also like to write a lot. So recently I just started my startup called Riddles of the Sun with the focus on literacy, trying to bring reading materials to students in schools by backing up our findings with data of what the problem is, especially with public school education, to help address the challenge of literacy at that level. And also, I have projects with digital literacy at the senior secondary school, working together with the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, especially the Science and Technology Department. We are still at the planning stage. Probably implementation will begin in September. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So when you say literacy, are you talking about language as in English literacy, or are you talking about programming language literacy? Like which?
Okay.
This is an IT panel, so we.
Literacy, let's focus on the digital literacy
Okay.
part of it. So in digital literacy, we try to bring basic IT skills to children, young people, and women as well by focusing on addressing gaps with basic Microsoft skills, as well as also bringing in an element of coding into it, because we realized that before students are introduced into coding, they really need to learn the basic blocks of how a computer works and also be able to code on paper. Because if they're not comfortable doing the math on paper, then they begin to think that there is something out of the blue that is happening. But when you bring in those elements in paper and then they begin to work on it on a computer, they begin to see how everything comes together to play a part of what they are trying to do. So with digital literacy, we do a lot of training in it with be it children, young people, and women. And we work with schools, especially during the Africa Code Week celebrations, where we do school rounds to teach Scratch programming to senior secondary school students so that they can address problems in climate change, problems in arithmetical thinking and all of that, and also developmental issues by trying to write a story about it and then doing the basic coding elements of it in Scratch. And but at the senior secondary school level, what we are trying to do is address the challenge of digital literacy that comes to play when young people are in the workforce, because we've done a lot of different projects working with journalists, women at different, and entrepreneurs at all. And what we find out is beyond just typing and just sending stuff, most people don't really know what else they can do with their computers. So we try to teach them how to, especially at the security level, how to do basic protection of their devices and their social media accounts, how to also be wary of phishing and cyberbullying and all of that, and also take it into account to how they could better enhance research, be able to also address all the different skills that are available online, to use it to gain knowledge in every sector that they're interested in the vast subject areas that are available.
So when you say kids, like what age range do you guys look at?
Okay, with our children's program, we work with children between the age of 5 to 16. That is for the programs that are implemented at Joko Labs Banjul, where we do the after-school program and also the summer camp program. But at the senior secondary school, we work with kids between 15 and 21 because there are different age gaps in public schools with how kids are enrolled. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I might send my nephew your way.
Okay.
Sakausu.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Wow.
This is, by the way, this is good because we definitely need to start introducing the kids to technology. I mean, you see other countries, I mean, if I use China as an example, you're just using the most advanced country as an example. But let's just come back home, look at places like Kenya, look at places like Rwanda.
Exactly.
How they're introducing technology, to kids at a very young age. In school, you see kids now coding. And Gambia, that is a little bit alien. We think this is too advanced for children to grasp the concepts of these things. But they can do it. If Kenyan kids can do it, why not Gambian kids?
Yeah.
And this is a good initiative that you guys are doing. Mr. Kausu,
Thank you.
you work with kids as well?
Sure.
Okay. Tell us.
Yeah, so basically, I founded Kids in Technology to train kids on different facets in technology, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
Robotics, Internet of Things, coding, and drone. We started drone technology not long ago. So the idea is all about technology is now, taking shape. Almost all human endeavors, activities that we do, technology is involved. And, the education system also is changing to map to the fourth industrial revolution demand, like education 4.0 and all those things. So the education system, if you look at it at a broader perspective, you realize that there's a lot of faults, because what kids are learning and what is happening doesn't have any correlation. So the kids are learning things that are obsolete, So look at AI. If you look at ChatGPT and so many emerging technologies that are happening right now, and those things are like versions. So in the next 5 years, how ChatGPT is today will be different, will be super powerful. So imagine if kids are learning things that are not correlated to what the world will face in the near future. It's like people or the system is wasting their time. So I came to realize that so many people graduate from the university and so many people are in the street, They don't have jobs, although they have degrees, they have diplomas and all those things. But the problem is like they don't get the right skills, and the school system is not giving them that opportunity. So I see it as an opportunity gap, and I found it kids in technology, and so far so good. Things are moving fine for me because I train so many people who are now in the industry at the age of 17, 18, 19, and now they are software developers. So I see to it that it's making greater impact in the community, and so many people are coming because most of the time, so many people knock my door, like parents. They see my kid is a genius, is smart in electronics and this and this and that. So like my center is a hope. It's an environment where kids exhibit their God-given talent or innovation or things of that nature. Because currently we have, it's not like the theoretical part of the thing, but we have the prototyping tool for all these things I'm talking about. If you come to kids in technology, we have robots, a lot of different type, the Vex type, the Arduino type, the BBC microbit type, a lot of different type of robots, the prototype that kids can learn to build robotic concepts.
Yeah.
So moving to IoT, Internet of Things also, if you go to kids and technology, there's a lot of IoT devices. We have a lot of sensors that kids use to build different projects, like the automatic irrigation system we build with the kids that water the crop without human intervention, and the smart stick for the visual impaired people. Those are all IoT projects, and the facial expression to see if you come to work, whether if you're in a good mood or not. So all these things are built by kids, not adults, from age 7 to 18. So moving to drone technology, because we are doing experiments. Sometimes we take kids to field, to the place where the women are doing vegetable gardening and all those things. We interview them, and they tell us our problem is pets and this and this and that. The kids also have mentors around. If they have idea to solve a problem, let's say to spray the crops, and any recommendation or any problem we get from the local farmers, that the kids will gather ideas, build drone concept. It could be a drone to solve it, or a robot, or IoT or something. So, but then we figure it out, not real project because we don't have tools for that, but we can build like prototyping tools to solve that particular problem. So it's like Kitchen Technology is basically a real life environment where kids learn to build real things in the real industry. And when you come to coding also, we do different type of coding. We train kids how to build websites. In fact, one of the kids I train is now working with me as a software developer. Is currently working on an inventory app. He's just 19, fortunately in the University of the Gambia, but he's very, very bright. So that comes to the importance of starting early, giving chance to kids to start learning these concepts, codings, and all those things is important, because they become independent early and they can solve the societal problem, and they can also earn living, because if you look at other countries like you've mentioned, China, USA, even some African countries like Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa is happening there. You see, the country is really supporting things like kids in technology, GoMindz, and the Joko Lab and all those things to improve on what they're doing. Because if you look at the socio-economic development, you cannot leave technology behind. You understand? If you want to move the country forward, what you have to do is technology have to be the focal point, the central focus. And to me, the best method is to use the younger generation, the kids, the young people, because their minds are very elastic. They can think, they have more time, because coding, we all know, is difficult, and it takes time. Even people graduate from the university, they cannot write code, But then if you start from the block level, that's why normally I advise people to start with block level. Even those 19 and 18, I advise them to start with block level, because from block level, you understand the programming concept, loop, arrays, and you name them. And you'll be able to, at least, it should not be boring, like if they give you the raw code, but drag and drop, you can easily build game. So it gives you appetite, and the feel and the connection and all those things to computer program. That is from my experience, because I spent like 10 years teaching kids, how to do these things. So normally people who start from the block level excel in programming than people who just jump and start from Python and HTML and CSS and all those things.
Yeah.
So the overall is these people here right now are really very good, playing the remarkable well when it comes to moving the digital, infrastructure forward and all those things.
Yeah.
So I'm privileged to be a part of this, because gathering to share my insight of, what is happening. And the other thing is I would like to mention is the country, the authority have to take these things serious, just like how comedy and other things like football are being supported and all those things. Because if you look at the Gambia, you see people build drones from scratch, people build cars from scratch, people build a lot of these innovative things from scratch. But at the end of the day, nothing will happen. Like I will just, come back to one story about, I saw a video going around about one child from Indonesia. He's around 12 years. So he built a trash can during COVID-19 period, and it was trending all over the internet. And because people knows that I like innovation. So it came to my table, and immediately the man showed me the sample that a child, from Indonesia built an amazing project, and it was going all over the place. I told him that I can bring like 10 or let's say 15 kids who can build similar things or better than this in the Gambia, and it's happening. But the problem is like a Gambian child will build it. A child from China will build it. A child from Gambia will build the same concept. In fact, more better. But a child from India will have more views, more support, more exposure, and all those things, more encouragement. A Gambian child will build a prototype of an aeroplane or a car or something like that. But it will not be trend. Only few people who are in IT field or few people who are very conscious about technology and digital transformation will have interest in that video. But one child will just do one funny thing and you have 1,000 or million views. You understand? So coming to that, it's all about what we prioritize, because the image of the country, the economic development in the future is today. You see the reflection. If the country is going forward, if the next 10 years or 5 years, the Gambia is going to be like a Silicon Valley, you will know it today. If the Gambia is going to be a comedian zone, you will know it today. If Gambia is going to be like a football, a place where everybody will like to become a footballer, is today. Do you understand? And that is just from the authority, from the people mindset and all those things. The authority need to empower innovation. You understand? And the people, the policymakers and all those things need to know that we cannot, if we realistically want to go in for development, we cannot leave these things we are talking about behind. If the kids are not learning these innovative skills and all those things we mentioned here, what will they be learning that will benefit the economy in the next 5 or 10 years? It's not happening.
Agreed.
Yes, so that's why is this once I get the invitation to come here, I said this is perfect, because I have something to deliver so that everybody can hear. And that is the authority need to prioritize this, and people need to be aware enough to encourage we the people who started from meager resources to build a lab, a full-fledged lab, to bring people, to bring trainers and all those things. People need to encourage us. People need to award us. People need to elevate us, because this is few in the country. How many kids in technology you have in the Gambia? How many Joko Labs? How many GoMindz? It's few, and we are all young here. You understand? So we are trying to push the country, just like what Kenya is doing, what Rwanda. Go to Rwanda today. They are building they have their own mobile manufacturing company, the car parts. Go to Nigeria. Go to Kenya, you have tech hub, people building Andela, software developers are all around, partnering with outside companies to build a remote project. And this is possible in the Gambia, because Gambia, let me tell you this, we have very, very smart people. I deal with smart people every day. And every day, somebody come knock my door who have the high probability of becoming a scientist. That's every day, and that's in the Gambia here. So the problem is not the youths. The youths are intelligent and smart. They have energy. The problem is not we, the innovators. We are ready to deliver. We are ready to bring more equipments for kids to learn. But the problem is the authority. The authority need to put these things, not going to conference and talking about this is what is happening, this is what we will do. Let the authority come and do it in real time. Okay, buying tools. The schools need tools. The education system need to change.
Yeah.
They need tools to give tools. These equipments that I'm talking about, Arduino and so many other things. The schools need to have it. They revamp the education system and put these things there.
I agree with you.
Yes.
There's a lot that needs to be done on
Yes.
policy side and on the government side to support and encourage people to. I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot point any developed country and not root it down to technology.
Correct.
Right? I mean, the most valuable companies in the world are tech companies.
Exactly.
So that should be a sign that
The richest people in the
the
world.
richest people are tech people. So that's a fact, and hopefully, we realign our priorities and look into these sectors. But I want to jump to Modu here. Please, like, what are some of the things that you guys are involved in?
Oh yeah, first
I'll get back to you. There's a point that
Yeah.
you made that I want to get back to.
So first of all, thank you very much for having us here today. Right, it's really exciting in order to have this kind of conversation, especially in the country. These are things that is, lacking in the country. Most of us are in our own various corners doing our own stuff, and in most cases, these are similar stuff that we,
Yeah.
we always do. So if you don't always have these meaningful conversations among us, it will be, quite such of a replica of, what people are doing in general. So from the GoMindz perspective, of course, my colleague will talk about the academic perspective. So basically, GoMindz, the simple mission is quite very simple. It's just to derive value from data. Of course, we're in the information age, 21st century. Everything we talk about is data here, data there. But then coming back to the most important aspect of data is the value. If you can derive value from data, then it becomes meaningless, right? So I think positioning ourselves to that space becomes, I would just use a simple analogy here. It's like we want to position ourselves where if, Andela is for software engineering in Africa, then GoMindz would be for data science of Africa, right? So we do actually, want to find ourselves, capturing that value of data science. Having to study in the East, I've definitely come to learn a lot, from that place. Of course, for them, they innovate way ahead of time, especially the Asian tigers, China, Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, and other countries, right? Japan, and others, right? So one thing that it's actually always a takeaway from that point is this whole thing, started from the West, then it moved, to the East. They really capitalized. You can definitely see part of this country that I have, talked about. But recently these things are moving from the Far East coming down to the Southeast, that is India. But then also we have realized, most of these jobs also are coming down to Africa, especially some of these countries that position themselves there, like Kenya, for instance, like Nigeria, especially Lagos, Ghana. So I think on the broader perspective, you also have to, innovate ahead of time. We of course, the policy will always come in, but I think it's very, very important. We get ahead. Let's say, for instance, when Kenya, when M-Pesa was started, China, didn't even started. That whole mobile revolution stuff. The whole thing started from Kenya, Nairobi, right? And then it started with 206, right? From the history of M-Pesa. But you come to realize the Kenyan government didn't, in fact, knew the value of, or, that it will definitely create. So we only come to realize it, back in 2015, 2016. But then look at now all of the other countries, they're really waking up to that. But only starting M-Pesa led to the whole fintech revolution around the East African corridor. You can definitely have that in Tanzania, you can have that, in Uganda, you can have it in Rwanda, and then, other neighboring countries. Now, that whole thing also gets back to other places. So for me, I believe GoMindz, it's actually in that position, but then we have to start it somewhere. That is why we started in the Gambia. And then one thing that we have realized is there should be a lot of mindset development along the line. So having to be able to have to solve that's how the academy comes into the game, in order to be able to advocate for that, have to build the capacity for that, because you also need to have that capacity. So I think we have a simple vision that is just to help every single organization. Every organization that we talked about, or industry that we talk about, the most valuable asset that they have is their data. So if that is the most valuable asset, you need to derive value out of it. Whether it's healthcare, whether it's finance, whether it's actually governance, whether even if it is policymakers. If you can make they can drive pattern and insight, they can make better policies. So most
So
of the time,
when you say data science,
Yeah.
what exactly do you mean?
okay, like basically it's just the science behind data. How do you take that data, process that data or manipulate that data into information, and then leveraging communicating that information, that processed data, to an information, and then communicating that information to people who have no idea, but then who can definitely leverage that to make decisions or build other solutions on top of that. That is basically the whole life cycle of data science.
Okay, the reason I'm asking this, for a lot of people, when you say data science, it's a broad term, right? So, if you say, for example, like medical science, there's a lot of things that are involved. For example, like medical research, experiments, dissecting maybe human bodies or animals and trying to see how the organs work and X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
That you can kind of explain. But if you say data science, like what are the nitty-gritties of data science, or like what's involved? Like why is data science important? Like how does it work in practice?
Okay, I think I will just use a simple analogy here about data science. Is let's say all of us are using WhatsApp, right? And there is a model behind the WhatsApp. That's why it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And what are our inputs? It's actually data. So behind the scene, there must be a revenue model. So at the end of the day, in that revenue model, what are they trying to capture is our attention. So who are the people behind like this whole thing of us making something like we've stayed in that space? It's actually the data that we're providing, and being able to leverage that data, make value out of that data involves, of course, the tools, the psychology, the decision making, and then also the value that it comes when it comes to financial aspects of it. So basically, data science are things that involves mostly two things: the tools, and also the statistics behind those tools.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
All right.
Fatoumata.
So thank you for having us here, Gano. He rightly mentioned about GoMindz, so I'll be specializing on the GoMindz Academy because we have the GoMindz and GoMindz Academy. He made mention of trying to build that capacity, right? So you have a data science company, you need young people on board, but then you have to have that capacity of young people who are tech-oriented, right? So that is where GoMindz Academy comes into play. So the sole purpose of GoMindz Academy is just to bridge the gap between academia and the industry. Because when you look at it in the Gambian context, there's a huge gap between the academia and the industry. The educational system is not in line with what is happening in the industry. So that is where GoMindz Academy is being positioned, by making sure that we equip our students with technological skills, because technological skills are life skills nowadays. Just like cooking is a life skill, cleaning is a life skill. The same way technology is also a life skill. So what we do is we equip these students with these technological skills that are required in the industry. So we have we separate our courses into three domains. We have the foundation, where that is just the basics, where we teach students how to operate basic software applications like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. Then we introduce them also to research, because it is also very important. It is fundamental when it comes to education. We introduce them to that, and presentation as well, because marketing is very important, right? So, and the first step to marketing, before you market any product, you have to market yourself. You go for a job, the first thing that you do is an interview. If you cannot do public speaking, if you cannot present, right? So that is why we also include presentation into our course content. Then we have the intermediate level where we do a bit of specialization. Then intermediate level, we offer courses like data analytics, data science, entrepreneurship, digital marketing and design, graphic designs. So all of these revolves around technology at the end of the day, right? And then we have the advanced level. That is where you kind of like dig deep into the courses that you've done in the intermediate level. So you have advanced in data analytics, in data science, in digital marketing and design, in graphic designs. So yeah, that is basically all that GoMindz does. And like Kids in Tech specializes more on kids. So GoMindz Academy, we are positioned in a way that we are focusing more on the adults that are coming up. Because since we are bridging the gap between the academia and the industry, we have to focus on people that are about to get into the industry. And that is high school students and university students most especially. So that is where we position ourselves.
How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
20.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And she's actually the assistant director of the academy.
Yeah, I mean, she's speaking with a lot of what's the word? It's a compliment. The word is escaping my mind, but
Thank you.
like what you're saying, and your body is not matching. You know what I'm saying? Which is a good thing. We need more people like you. We need young people to actually be proactive. You know, speak. First of all, they need to know what it is that they're speaking about, but then speak out.
100%.
You guys have introduced yourself. Let's get to the exciting part. I want to go back to a point that you made about programming, right? Now, with the advent of AI, the CEO of NVIDIA, he said AI is advancing to a point where people don't need to learn programming languages anymore. You will be able to build a software with the language that you speak, and this is what AI is trying to bridge, right? It's almost like if, say, now we're using Microsoft 2024, for example, like that's the new version. But you go to school and they teach you Microsoft 2001, 2003, right? It's almost a little bit counterproductive, because in real life, what it's being used in practice is the newer versions, right? You still have basics of what Microsoft 2024 is offering, but our educational system is still teaching kids Microsoft 2000 and whatever. With how AI is moving so fast, you could just literally prompt on ChatGPT, build me a simple light switch for an Arduino kit or Raspberry Pi, and it'll just give you the code. Do you think we are making the same mistake that we've been making by teaching kids what is not really out there in practice?
Well, I think the other one is basically probably his own perspective of seeing things and the environment that where he is. But to be honest, if you call for a software development role here in the Gambia, if you want to have, currently you want to have, let's say, 10 core software engineers, it will be very difficult for you to have. I just recently conducted an interview for my company, recruiting software developers, but it's really very difficult to have competent software developers. Having AI, no matter what AI can do, coding is not like asking AI about how to build, let's say, a Raspberry Pi or something like that. It will give you code. Anything you ask, it will give you. It is made for that. But who are the engineers to connect the dots to make sure that things work? If you come to web development, it's not only coding. There's a lot of things involved. It's not only writing code, but once a customer approaches a company for a software, from that point to the last dot of building the product, there's a lot of things.
I mean, I would understand, like the user interface.
Yes.
You have need some people that would front-end designers,
Yes.
right?
UI, UX.
Yeah, UI
know,
UX.
yes.
But I'm specifically talking about back end developers, like people that are like just doing raw coding.
Yes.
If and the point that I'm trying to make is like these raw programmers, right? ChatGPT can do that.
Yeah, but then ChatGPT can do that, but ChatGPT cannot connect all the dots for you. You understand? Let's say you have like a database, because it's like you have a code for, let's say, PHP or maybe for Node.js or something like that. But MongoDB is there, MySQL, and so there's supposed to be something to connect all those things, and there's a lot of bugs that you have to edit and then connect things together. If you
I
bring
mean, I saw a video where someone posted like a whole program on ChatGPT to debug it. It did it in like seconds, where it would take someone days, weeks, or if not even months.
I think it depends on the nature of the project. Some projects are very very complex for ChatGPT to put.
You think so with the ChatGPT 4.0?
Say it again.
With the new version of ChatGPT?
Yeah, it's possible for it to prompt and give you a lot of things that will aid you or that will assist you in the development process. But then it will be very difficult for you to get a full-fledged software development if you are not a developer. If you don't know how to connect these things together.
So again, what I'm trying to say, I'm looking down into the future, right? If someone these are like pioneers of GPUs that processes AI, where AI is hosted. Like they build hardware to basically just process neural link data, right? They're telling you what the aim is. They're trying to basically get rid of learning how to program in a programming language. For example, like PHP or in C, C++ or whatever. You can actually build a software using English, for example. Like this is what they're trying to get to. And this is coming very, very quickly.
Yeah, this is especially last time I saw the first AI, so a software engineer, AI software engineer, Devian. I don't know whether if you heard about that, but so it's doing similar thing, but the accuracy, people are complaining about it.
But that's the point, though. The point that I'm trying to make is maybe you guys can step into that as well. Yeah, ChatGPT or maybe other large language models are not as advanced as we are looking at them yet. But the rate at which they are evolving,
I can see what you're talking about.
I mean, when did ChatGPT 3 came out? That was not long ago. And then ChatGPT 4 is like, how many, it's insane.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is like, if we are looking at how fast this industry is moving, like, shouldn't we try to predict where our future is heading to based on where this thing is going? Because I believe at some point, there's a lot of jobs is going to be obsolete.
100%. Totally agree with that.
Mm.
So I think, sorry to step in on that. I think Jensen Hong, the CEO of NVIDIA, I do understand, part of the point, because I frequently, listen to him. His point that he wants to make is, especially Sam Altman widely, said about it last year. Yeah. He said the world is getting to a place whereby people who are, let's say, into AI, that's why even for them, I had to stop, sometime, for them to be way ahead of it, because everything is changing now. The whole, the whole ecosystem is changing. Let's say now we have something called foundation models now, right? So if every single company that is building, you only need to bring your data and then build on top of that. And then in order to be able to build on top of that, you only need to do some, large language models, like let's say natural language processing. So that's all what is definitely, needed, that you just need to bring your data. So in that kind of aspect, what will happen is the rate of software engineers that we will be needing will become really absolute, with time. Because let's just look at a small analogy. When it comes to, fast forward last 20 years, Cisco is among the top companies when it comes to networking. Now you can count 50 companies, you will not even have Cisco.
Yeah.
So that is why sometimes if I see people be like, oh, I want to do networking, don't get me wrong. Still, it can be valuable here. But let's say in the company, during my studies, right, I had this conversation with an Uber driver. He told me, I'm actually a networking engineer. He actually, worked in Silicon Valley. He came back to, Malaysia, and then we were talking about things. And then it was like, then why are you doing this Uber stuff? It's like, well, along the line, I had to lose my job. I was like, why should you, lose your job? He was like, okay, do you know what? Every company used to have a lot of servers, a lot of networking that they used to manage. But now, the advent of software as a service becomes
The cloud computing.
Yeah, cloud computing becomes really, especially
Exactly.
yeah, sure. Especially it happens to QCell. Now, let's say for instance, most of the GSM operators, QCell, Gamtel, what and whatnot. Now, Huawei will deal with every single thing. So for them, they just need to pay for the subscription, that is
Exactly.
the license.
Exactly.
So the whole entire infrastructure now, if there's an issue, they need to open a ticket. If the issue is not that really, complicated, some of the Huawei staff in the Gambia will solve the problem. If it's a bit complicated, the Dakar, team will solve that. If it is way more complicated, the team in Egypt will solve that. If it's really, really complex, then it gets back to China. So little that's telling you, we don't, we have to double down. That's where.
And this is the point that exactly the point that I'm trying to make, because there was a time where every tech company or like a bank or whatever would have like a huge server room, right? And spending so much money in buying servers and trying to cool the place down. When you can just get a subscription from Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, and you don't need staff. It's very secure. It's online. As long as you have internet, then you're good to go. So the point that I'm trying to make is, I feel like sometimes we are looking at things the wrong way, because technology is moving at a pace that we are being left behind because we are still thinking ancient instead of actually adapting to how the tech space is moving. So like networkers, for example, you'd have bunch of people that have what is it called? Cisco certificate, and they can't find work.
So,
right?
Especially the Starlink, is coming to, when you come, probably it will take all these, the network serving providers and all those things.
So and since you guys are are involved in trying to nurture kids into to move into this tech world, I just want to know if you guys are looking at this trend as well, instead of repeating the same mistake that we repeated at some point.
Yes.
And I think we still do that. Even if you go to UTG, they're still teaching very old curricula.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But if you look at it in a broader perspective, it's like somebody who learn how to code, it will be easier for that person to navigate, to learn new skills, to adapt to the changes and all those things. That somebody who cannot even operate a Microsoft.
Definitely.
Is that not so?
But what AI is trying to do, though, AI is trying to do is trying to give chance to people that do not know the technical aspect of, say, programming or like software data science. Like, as long as you speak English, like your pre-requirement will just be English, right? AI will do the donkey job for you. You just need to be creative with it, because I guess the best software developers are very creative people. You can be a good programmer, but if you're not really creative, it's hard for you to build something worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
So, and people are creative,
Yeah.
and this is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but the other side of it is like the teaching kid codes or robotics or all those things doesn't necessarily mean that they all have to become software engineers. Or programming broadens your
Of course.
your brain to think and solve problems in any endeavor, not only computer wise and all those things. If you bring a child who knows how to code and a child who does not know how to code, when you come to problem, even if at their home, not in class or computer related environment, but even the real life scenario case, a child who knows how to program a software using algorithm and all those things will better solve challenges and problem than somebody who does not know how to code. There's a high probability of the person who knows how to code will easily navigate when you come to solving problem than somebody who doesn't know, because the thinking capability will be different.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, we are not training everybody, because we know everybody is not possible for all of them to become a programmer, and there is a high probability that AI will replace so many things, and that is happening. But that does not mean that we should stop teaching kids how to code. You understand? Like I said, teaching them how to code, there's a lot of things involved.
Yeah, I think I have a point on that. Like for me, I've started adapting to that. Like I was telling him, anything that has to do with software engineering, software development, I used to do it, but then I come to realize we do spend a lot of time and resources on it. So I just outsource. Like I don't waste my time on that, because the vision is clear. It's a data science company, right? So we have other people who are specializing in that, like him, just a code camp, Asutech. So anytime we have something like that, I call them, outsource, we move. So also at the same time, us ourselves, we want to position ourselves there. So I think, in fact, I used to tell them, especially the academy. Currently, one of our biggest, clients come from the University of the Gambia, because we understand there's a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
These people are not, imagine us listening to, the CEO of NVIDIA saying, uttering this. These are sending, sound waves to some of us who are very, very, oriented into the field. That we need to move fast than ever. And coming back to some institution like the University of the Gambia, what we are trying to do is every summer, even, we've started this summer, most of those courses that are being taught, especially in the school of SBPA, the economists, they definitely need softwares now to do most of their work. Let's say MATLAB, Stata, SPSS, and all of those kind of stuff. So we tap into that market. We will be there and then be like, hey, do you know what? If you were to have a job at the Central Bank of the Gambia, for instance, as an economist, you don't need that calculator and then book a pen. You don't need all of that. You actually need X, Y, and Z. This is the feasibility studies that we have done. That's how we do normally sell those ideas at this specific point. Even, yesterday I was having this conversation with the SU president, the University of the Gambia president, whereby I'll be like, okay, that's your new mandate. Why don't you bring this kind of ideas there? Like, it would be worthwhile at the end of the day. So even we went through that point of Ecomancer, we've actually built a whole complete website for them, absolutely for free. Just to involve them, part of the field. And this is not School of ICT. We're talking about School of SBPA at the end of the day. Because in the School of ICT, we come to realize that some of them, they're there, they're good. Some of them are working. They're only there for the degree. We understand that. But look at the broader perspective. 60% to 50% of the University of the students of the Gambia, like the population, is in SBPA. So these are the people who will have very, very big problem securing a job if they graduate. So if 60% of them come from the school of business, and then we're not trying to solve that problem, then it always becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So I think also that's where now the academy comes in order to be able to solve that problem. So I think when you have leaders, so message that they do send is not about the message now. It's about like the future, but then how do you move fast into getting to that problem at the end of the day? So I think, that's where, other people also come in order to try to be able to help in order to solve that problem.
Exactly, because if you look at tech companies right now, they're laying off thousands of staffs.
Definitely.
And, we are in the AI era, but there's another aspect of AI that I think a lot of people are not talking about, especially in this side of the parts of the world. Is AGI.
Yeah, sure. And then, about laying people, I make a gradual studies on that. I come to realize, even, in GoMindz, okay, let's say investors, they want to invest in your company, or you are, the shareholder of your company. So you get to realize the net profit will be for a tech, for a, service-based economy. It's normally investors will ask for 25% or to 30% of dividends, of net profit. But you come to realize, hey, 50% of that revenue is going into payroll. And you come to be like, oh, well, and operations is only 10%. Another 15% go in for legal issues like tax and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you do think about is laying off people. Even for me, like right now, I do feel that. And then even last week we had a meeting. I made it very, very clear. So that is why, hey, do you know what? You either need to be very, very good at what you do, or you are being given, a contract. You do this, you're being paid that. So that's how tech, space orient. So especially if you're in the Gambia, we need to plan for, because you.
I think it's like I think that will be in all domains for this layer of things, and then AI replacing people. It will be in agriculture, it will be in health, and so many other places. Because AI is not specifically targeted technology; it's all aspect of human endeavor. AI is trying to replace everything.
Yeah.
So, but then if you also look at this way, at the end of the day, if we are very, scared about this, that AI will come and then we don't need to train kids how to code, what will you do now?
I
What
think
will people do now?
Yes, I think I can she can help us with that.
I
Yes.
think the discussion is moving at a very interesting pace, but we also have to be mindful of the realities around our situation in Gambia. AI is cool. It's emerging technologies. It's moving at a very fast pace, especially in parts of the world where technology has advanced to such a level that in every sector it is being adapted into. But like what he is trying to say also is very important, teaching kids how to code. We cannot try to mend what has already been an issue in the past by continuing the form of education. We're looking at textbooks, what's already been there. But we need to look at what we need within the country as well. Because at the end of the day, for creativity to come into play, we have to be realistic about what our situation has been. And they're doing a great job with it, with bringing data into the perspective and all of that. But education is something that can really bridge the gap across all sectors. Because programming is it's very vast. You can adapt it in every field of study and all of that. But what are we trying to do in Gambia? Every year we see a government come up with things they want to achieve at the end of the day. Now we have the reframed National Development Plan and all of that, where ICT is a critical enabler and all of that. But at the end of the day, who are the people writing our books in Gambia? What are the kids learning and all of that? Yes, they're learning science and all of that. It's all pretty cool stuff, and those things are necessary. But what the problem is still today is the things they're learning. It's not unique to Gambia. You get an English passage in school. Let's say they're telling you about some village in Ghana. There can be similar stories around that. But what we can really do with ICT literacy is bring in the perspective of what we have here. If, for instance, we take a case study in CRR where we say, oh, there is a problem of saltwater intrusion, though it is moving at a very minimal state. You see that in maths, in science, even in history, they can all begin to see how they can solve that. When you take that knowledge, put it on paper, then you move it to a computer, you're seeing that, oh, there's a trend of data that has been there. You begin to teach kids to solve problems that are unique to them. And ChatGPT is awesome and all of that, but to be realistic, before we get to the level that we have to meet up with other parts of the world, we have to solve what is within our grasp. And how can we do that? By making sure that we are enabling technology education into the things that children are learning. Not just programming one bit. What we are trying to do with the pilot program in digital literacy and coding is looking at case studies within Gambia in every subject area: agriculture, health, tech, business, manufacturing, and all of that. Let the kids in the school begin to see, yes, this is a challenge in this village, this is a challenge in this community. When it comes to election, this is a challenge, and all of that. Let them begin to talk about it, because you cannot just solve a problem without going back to having the basic stuff of it built around a case study, built around design thinking and all of that. When they begin to look at things at a perspective like that, we sit and talk about it. So what can we move it from the paper of what we are talking about, ensuring that, oh, in a classroom where there are people coming from different communities and different regions and all, oh, I understand this and this is what is happening. My mother talks about this, or my father who works in this, even if they don't have formal education, talks about it. All the perspectives that they're bringing together, that is knowledge that is being shared, getting them to see that the data around those can be used to help make informed decision making process. Not everybody is going to end up a program, but what you were really beginning to create is a sense of patriotism in the children who are learning. They begin to think different. Their thinking capacity, it's not about the problem, the mass problem they're given about a case study in some village in Nigeria or Ghana, but it is what is happening in parts of the Gambia. And Gambia, we're very, very good at research, at policy and all of those things. If we can transform those things, bring it into what the children are learning, then we begin to see that, oh, even policymakers are informed about the things they're going to. Because what's the problem that we have? There are experts in different fields that are completely different from what they're doing, who are set as policymakers and decision makers in sectors that they have no idea about. But technology can bridge a lot of things, not just bringing the kids or young people to just do basic stuff and stop about it and memorize it. But how do we leverage that technology to meet the realities of what we are happening, what is happening with us? GPT is great and all of that, but in the next 5 years, if we do not do something about creating critical thinkers in the country, then kids who are in grade 9 now, they graduate. What are they going to? Oh, I'm going to school of business, or I'm doing law. What is the law that you were trying to study going to do for you at the end of the day?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but here's the kicker with these AI models, right? AI models could actually be trained to solve specific problems for a specific place. Like the CRR, for example, like a case study for CRR. You could get a model, and most of these models are they're open source. You can get it, install it, and then train it, right? So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, yeah, it's important to teach people how to think critically, not just in tech space, but just generally speaking. Kids do need to be able to think and rationalize and be able to come to answers, not just going like group thinking, for example, or just going with the narrative, right? 100%. And I think this is why subjects like math is important, even though you might not apply it in real life, but the way it makes you think in a certain way. Playing puzzle games or learning how to code, for example. These are important because it does help you think in a critical way. But the point that I'm trying to make is, we need to go hand in hand with some of these models, because AI models most of them are open source. Even ChatGPT, I think, what you're paying, it's $0.0001 for 1,000 tokens, right? It's almost nothing. And what these AI models can do is, if you have, say, issues that you're trying to solve and it's like complicated or might be resource intensive, you can train a model to just specifically learn what this problem is, and it give you answers.
Yeah, I think.
So coming to the what you're talking about really makes sense. But let's assume like you take a kid from a school that does not teach IT, and then the AI training models you're talking about, for instance, everything is there for you, and the only thing is to train it to do a particular thing for you. A child who comes from zero IT background and a child who knows about robotics, coding, and all those things, who will be in a better position to do that training?
You could argue, say, the child in robotics and that's already involved would have edge, but the difference here is the prerequisite for some of these models is just the English language. You just need to know how to speak English, know how to read, know how to understand, comprehend certain concepts. That's what you mostly need. So if you come to the technical aspect of some of these models, then yeah, someone that's already into programming would kind of have an edge, but not really, right? I can use ChatGPT. I don't know how to program, right? For example, I can install an AI model in my laptop and train it to do certain things. I don't need to know how to code. I just need to be creativity is what I would need.
I think the difference is like what people need to understand is like Gambia here. There's a big problem. Okay, if you take a child from, let's say, a school from one of the villages from Sanyam, Brikama, or Farato, and you ask him to type his name in the computer, it will be a problem. You understand? So it's like no matter how AI simplify, no matter how it is simplified, you will interface a computer, right or wrong. No matter how it's simplified, you have to do that thing with the computer.
But that's the thing, though. The thing is, let me just make this point quickly. When we speak in hypotheticals, right? We're talking about kids in Farad. We don't have to go to Farad. We have kids in the combos here, right? We look at kids that already can type their names.
Let me come.
When I was talking, it's like my mind. It's like I was thinking about towns, and that's what
that's too broad. You have to start somewhere and then go out.
Yes,
let me just try to break this down. You were able to use ChatGPT because you have a device already. But most people in Gambia, or a lot of young people and children do not have devices. So what is the first problem?
You think so?
Computers, yes.
Kids have access to devices all over the place.
There's a lot.
No, they
Yes.
don't. You were very blinded to that
No.
reality. No, they do not have access to devices. Someone in their homes would have a phone, but like let's say computers. You have a computer now, so you have a personal computer, but there are a lot of children who only interact with a computer, maybe because their school has it. And most of the schools, what are the devices that they have? Devices that were donated so many years ago that the system models in them is already obsolete. And
I don't want to cut you off. Let me just
wait,
make
wait.
this point
Access
quickly.
is a problem first when it comes to, before we get to the ChatGPT and all
I
of
just
that.
want to insert this context,
Yes.
then you move on, right? The idea that you need a computer interface to be able to do certain things, I think it's a little bit not the right way to think about moving forward when it comes to technology and devices, because you can use your phone.
You
to
can
do a lot
use
of
your phone, but
things.
how many people you can use your phone? If you were using your phone, you need access to the internet. You need at least sufficient data bundle to be able to do what you're doing. What's the cost
No,
of
I agree.
cost of
I agree
internet?
on that
Let's
aspect.
address what the underlying challenges are before we even get to think about all the big tech stuff and all
Yeah,
of
I
that.
think
In order for us to be able to move at a formidable pace, we have to access the gaps that are already there. And what can we do to really help if we're going to give people access to look at ChatGPT making their life simplified and all of that? We have to be able to provide them with a device. They have to also be connected to the internet and all of that. And those are realistic challenges that Gambia faces. And you said, a kid, before we take a kid in Farato, we should look at kids in Combo. When you come to inclusive access to education, you have to consider kids in every part of the country, because at the end of the day, all of those kids, what is the human right basic perspective of the children need access to education. It's a human right, and access to education. Now there are disparity based on where you school, based on where you study as well, because you might come into contact with all of these things and have people who talk about it, because the reality is that all of you within that same bracket, maybe coming from homes whereby your parents are educated and all of that, you're coming from homes or you have devices, you're very curious and all of that. But what you were talking about in your school in the Combos might be different from what the kids who were schooling in CRR in Janjanbureh are talking about.
Look,
So disparities create gaps in access. They create gaps in how people look at problems and are able to solve them. So what can we first do before we bring the big stuff is give them the access, give them the ability to be able to research stuff, to tell them that these are things that are there, and let them take it up
Now,
from
Exactly.
it.
So
let me just make this point quickly. Yeah. So when I say you look at kids that are already in the combos that can type their name in a computer, it doesn't mean we need to leave out other kids that can't do that, right? But what we're doing is, if we say in the name of being inclusive, yeah, being inclusive, there's nothing wrong with it, right? But we also need to look at people's paces. For example, you can't starve kids that already know how to type their names from accessing the next level of the technology, because there are some kids that can't type their name, and we need to make sure they all can type their names, right? We can still fix the problem with kids that can't type their names, but at this simultaneously also introducing some of these technologies to kids that can. I'm not saying we should just ignore these people, but at the end of the day, we still need to have capacity building, right? Some of these kids are going to be teachers, some of these kids are going to be mentors, some of these kids are going to be business owners. So kids that already have that, say for example, like first level, give them the next level, and kids that don't have the first level, then you can still do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see the point that I'm trying to
I understand. So now you were talking about what we can do, blah blah blah. So how do we start from there? That's my question.
Exactly.
How do we?
How do we start from there?
I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But
Right.
what I can present is questions and how we should move forward with it.
All right.
It's not just my. I don't have all the ideas. I don't have.
Yeah.
Yes, I think
so-
I think we
so I have a
can we can actually hear from her, who was just a child last 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
So yeah, we can hear
Alright.
from you.
I will argue that more than 50% of kids in this age
Yeah.
in the Gambia have access to devices, that is mobile devices, and they have access to internet. But then how well do they use these devices now? That is the question. Because all the kids that have access to these devices and internet, what they do is Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, social media. They think these devices are all about entertainment and fun. And I always do say this, there is more to social media than just entertainment and fun. You can go to social media, you follow people or accounts that, that they post things about coding, they post things about AI, but do we really follow those people? Do we watch our kids or do we monitor them in how they use these devices? That is a question that needs to be answered. No, they didn't. But they do have access to devices, I will give.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do have access to devices. Coming to the point that you made mention that they are following stuff that are entertaining and all of that. Why are they doing that with majority of their time? Because there is not sufficient awareness with what they can do with their devices as well.
Yeah.
So that is where the problem lies.
Who is
Gambia,
responsible
we
for
like
that?
entertainment. We like entertainment. It's part of. You will see somebody tell you they do not have the money, but if you Sundu ticket is 10,000, somebody's going to pay it.
You're
That's
right.
priorities.
That's true.
Priorities
Definitely.
are there, and entertainment still is good because we have to keep kids entertained and all of that. But with the model of devices, is we also need to look at the spaces where children spend most of their time. In schools, when you go, they tell you, okay, within the hours of the school, most schools will tell you that children are not allowed to be on their phone. Those are centers that you could use to create awareness. You go to UTG now, a lot of people, young people in Gambia, are getting tertiary education, be it vocational training, be it university and all of that. How can we also leverage those, like you say, like what you guys are doing, the data around those to create awareness sensitizations in those? Because you can bring kids to a classroom and tell them, oh, there is this and this and that. Majority of them might not, but the 5 of them who get to do that, those are the change makers within that. The 5 of them who get to go into entertainment, they will do terrific stuff with what they're doing. But in every school you get 5 people in a classroom of 50 who were interested. Then those kids begin to research. They begin to now create content for children and all of that. And that brings a mindset shift. And that is what I'm trying to say. Now that we cannot do all the big stuff, we cannot look into all of that. But we need to create avenues that are creative to be able to get to children, young people, and even adults at the spaces they operate in.
Now,
Exactly.
that will
So-
raise the question of, do we slowly climb the ladder all the way to the top, or do we need to make a paradigm shift, or let's say to leapfrog?
In my
Yeah,
opinion,
so
we need
it's-
to make a paradigm
it's
shift.
like
And
nonetheless-
you're already working with children.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
working with
Yeah,
kids.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
working with children. I mean, you're asking me what we should do. The question should not be posed to me. The question should be posed to you guys. What are you guys going to do
Okay,
about
I am
it?
I
trying
have
to
a point.
leverage
I have a very important point regarding AI. I have to relate these things to Africa. You see, cloud computing is happening since not now, but how many companies can offer AWS and all those things? To put their data in
It's
cloud.
actually cheaper than having a server room. Just the operational cost to maintain a server room, the ACs, the
Yeah,
electricity.
that's what I'm saying. But still now is people are doing I know we should upgrade to go to another level, but it's still expensive. So now let's
It's,
pack that-
no, cloud hosting is cheaper.
Yeah. It depends.
It's a lot. No, it is cheaper.
It depends on the
Some
type of
is
business
like
that
pay
you are
as you go.
incorporating.
Like some as pay as you go are very very expensive. I tried. So
I mean,
coming down to
if for example, like a say like an ISP, for example, right? They have their local servers. What they'll be spending to just maintain those servers, like hard drive, making sure like there's people that know networking and computer programmers. If you factor in all the money that they're spending just to maintain their servers, right? In comparison to say, getting a subscription from Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, this is cheaper.
no, what I'm talking about. I want everybody to understand this point. We are in Africa here, Gambia. Okay, let's relate into Africa. AI and all those things are big. The reason why I say that is happening. The cloud computing and all those things is happening. But how many people adopt to it? So it's like literally what I'm trying to emphasize. Before Africa or Gambia, before we adopt to things like these AI things we are talking about, it takes time. We don't even settle the basics. much more talking about AI and all those things.
I-
Listen,
I-
the other thing is that is a
I
problem.
think AI is more simplified than what we are trying to achieve
Yeah, but
currently.
let me come.
That's what I think.
Let me come. I have one point. It's like something that people don't understand too is here we have a lot of problem. Let me use agriculture as a case scenario here. How are we going to attain sustainable development? We eat our own food, grow and eat our own food. Do you think our human labor can do that for the Gambia? It's not possible. We need to use technology.
If we all go back to the farm.
No, it's not going to work. We're going to all go back to the farm now. But now, what can make things work? I'm still reiterating back to the fact that why kids are learning how to code. I just want to clarify that point. Yeah. So when we have an idea of using the robot, IoT, or a drone to solve our agricultural problem, what will happen? We need people who know how to program that robot and all those. AI cannot do it for you. Can ChatGPT just come and then, go to the farm and then work and all those things?
Actually,
It's
can't.
not possible. Somebody
can't.
have to do the
Look, now
somebody have to build the electronics, the mechanics to put things together. You have to know electronics.
Bro.
You have to know how to program and how to fix things together to be able to do something in the farm. So
I'll give you an example. Right?
yes,
I work
let me
with this-
let me learn first. So if you said kids should not learn how to, the NVIDIA CEO said kids should not learn how to code and all those things. Now, what will happen with Africa here? If we build the robots, who will in fact build robot here for Gambia, for rice cultivation and all those things? It's not from the university. University, they don't do robotics. They don't do IoT in the realistical time. I mean, having the physical equipment to do it is not happening. Currently, I'm employing like 5 university students. None of them know how to do robots. None of them know how to do IoT. And these are the things we need. So let's say if we want to now embrace agriculture to attain socio-economic development in this country, we want to start using the robots, drones, and all those things. Who are those going to do? Who is qualified to do it in this country? If we don't train kids, what I'm trying to simplify here, what is happening in the West, we are yet to attain that. There's a lot of things that we have to do in this country in order to get to the big AI and the big cloud computing that these people are doing. We can still utilize it.
Do you know?
Yes,
There's this guy. I just
I-
want to say something quickly. 2 points, and I'll allow you to say that point. There's this guy called Vosi. I don't know if you guys heard of him. Vosi Temba Kwai. He's a South African, right?
Yeah, sure.
This is what Vosi said. Vosi said Africans are really good at leaps, right?
Yeah.
The donkey job has already been done for AI. We don't have to do the donkey job again, right? The models are there. The models are being constantly updated. It's open source. We don't have to invent the wheel again. It's already been done for us. All we have to do is actually just implement,
That is it.
right? I'm not saying kids should not be taught how to build robots or kids should not be taught how to program. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a smarter way, right? To achieve, for example, like on a large scale, like you're talking about farming, for example, if you want to say survey a farm, you're talking about building the drones and building the sensors and building X, Y, and Z. Bro, you have Google Maps, right? Google Maps can provide all the data that you need, that you don't necessarily have to spend that resources and time into building a drone when you can just go online. For example, you can even get a Google Maps API into a system that you're building that can do that for you. And whatever you're building, you cannot compete with Google. But they're providing the solutions for you to embrace, to take and put in your pipeline
But
of
the
work.
thing is, like, implementing that simplified version of the thing is still a problem for us.
But now look at the point. Now just listen to what you're saying. They've already simplified it for us. I think embracing it should be the easiest thing to do in comparison to trying to build something from scratch.
Yeah, what literally is like, we are not trying, I'm not attacking you or something like that. I just want,
No worries, it's a
yes, I just
conversation
want
we're
people
having.
to understand these
Yeah.
things. You understand? Literally, we are not trying to reinvent. We cannot compete with Google or these big companies. They are ahead of us. But look at the perspective, the Gambian context of our development, how the things are going. We are like, I don't want to say zero, but this map thing you are talking about, do you know thousands of people are having problem to navigate? Recently, so many people, like, I'm doing a program at the university. That's master's level and all those things.
Yeah.
There are so many people, I asked them to send me a Google map. It's a problem. And to in fact understand the Google map, to come to your place and all those things is a problem. I'm in the industry. I do research about these things always. But to be honest to people and to be honest to you is that Gambia here is still a big problem to understand or to use these simplified AI models to do something with it. And that's what we need. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we need to know how to utilize those simplified tools. But knowing that simplified tools also start from somewhere, that is, people need to at least know the fundamental concept of ICT. Let me go back to my topic of picking a child from a remote environment where there is no ICT facility. You understand? To hold a mouse will be shaking, will be a problem. At the AI, people are talking about AI. Your child don't even know how to hold a mouse.
Yeah.
Both of you are making really interesting and valid points. But I will come back to what she said, that if we have to move, we need a paradigm shift. Paradigm shift also require basic knowledge. There is a time frame to do everything. We cannot just jump all of a sudden and we start implementing things that AI has already done. We in the professional field, we can do that because we already have background knowledge and all of that. But development happens within a time frame. So if you take young people and for a period of 1 year or 2 years, you teach them the basic stuff, a lot of them are going to find their way around other things. Before you know, in 5 years' time, people are solving problems that we're already talking about in agriculture, in business, in transportation, and logistics. That will create a paradigm shift. But we need also the basic foundational knowledge to be there. We also need there to be awareness creation on all of these things to be there. Because you cannot just train somebody in a week and let them go on those things. No, you have to be able to follow the course of their journey and be able to at least get 3 to 6 months, and especially if you're getting 1 hour in a week with children in schools, you would at least need to do a solid 1 year, follow them through the academic year for them to be well grounded in the foundational knowledge. What we are saying is there's a problem of even foundational knowledge currently in the Gambia. That's why a lot of people, they have brilliant ideas and all of that, but when you start talking to them about these things, it feels as though you're talking about something that is in a different galaxy.
Yeah.
But when we bring those things to the schools and institutions where forum of discourse are happening, you're building interest. How you're teaching it is very important. How you're saying it is very important. That is also the same reason happening in the professional world, because people now know that project management is very important. There are project management templates and platforms available, but you need to teach your staff how to be more efficient with the things that they're doing. You have all of these soft skills training coming into play. You do not need to sit in a classroom and study graphic design for 4 years to get a degree out of it. If you already own a device and you know how to get it, you can teach yourself just using templates that are already there. And professionals are coming up with all the creative skills. But at the end of the day too, in tech, there's a big capacity gap in the Gambia. That's why we outsource developers, software developers and all from Senegal and other parts. If there is a bidding contract for government to do this, even if a Gambian is able to do that and they provide what they're going to do, they would prefer trust comes into play to outsource it to somebody else, some company that is well established outside of the country, than giving it to Gambia. So basic foundational knowledge doesn't just happen with just teaching, comes into play with policy and governance as well, making sure all of those things are adapted at the policy level. They're also implemented at the curriculum development, that we also said if we want to do all of these things, let us write our books and put them out there. Let us talk about these things on social media. Let us talk about it with the people that we have in our houses. Together, when we begin to do that, we can now see, oh, okay, wow, this has been done. Let me see how I can replicate it in this part of Gambia, because models in Africa can be replicated. We have similar cultures and all of that and similar way of life. But just jump in and say, oh, we're going to implement implement this, we can do that at the professional level because we have to do it. If not, we lose our jobs. But then people who were coming up in 10 years, those are the young professionals coming into the field. What happens to them? That is what we're saying. What happens to them? They come in and then you realize that somebody has already finished high school and then they're going to universities to study computer science, Introduction to Computer Science 101. What were they doing in the 3 years that they had the opportunity to do that in school? So that's what we have to look at, because if we're not looking at solving that problem, then university students are going to learn Introduction to Computer Science, that moving the mouse and all of that.
Yeah,
Time is going. Time
No,
is going.
I agree with you.
I definitely want to ask this question here is we always talking about, how foundation, how to get, strengthening things. But then looking at one perspective, right? Who is the current powerhouse of semiconductors in the world? Is it not Taiwan? Come on, where's US? Where's Germany? Where's Japan? Where's China? Did we ask that big question? How did that thing end up at that specific point? These are some things that people have done it over and over and over and over again. Currently in Africa, if you talk about, we can talk without talking about Rwanda, but I mean, just look at 1994, what happened, right?
Genocide.
Yeah, I think one thing that is very, very important, even when it comes down to, house level or family unit level, agenda is important. Honestly,
Yes.
Yeah.
So coming back to
Exactly.
that point is, I think that is the whole of this topic. That is one of the most important thing. It's like we will be doing what we're supposed to do because we have passion and vision for these things.
Yeah.
And then we are very optimistic that things will work if there's proper things in place. That is the leaders, the people having the authority to push these things.
Yeah.
This is their job. Rwanda genocide happened. I'll come back to that. But look at Rwanda today is the fastest transforming country in the whole world. That is because of what leadership. Everything come down to boil down to what leadership. And a leader, a leader should be somebody who is very eager to do things, to make things happen. You should not wait until people will exhaust AI. You want to start doing AI, no. Or you wait until people exhaust it, you come, no. A leader, you should be vigilant. You should know the things in the country, people who are the pioneers, who are the people fighting to make sure that this country goes digital and all those things.
Yeah.
It's X, Y, Z. You as a leader, you should identify people who are doing these things in your country. These are your assets, and these are the resources for the country. You understand? We should not even go out to the authority and tell them that this is, in fact, we should do. But as a concerned person, yesterday I saw Jamai, the president of
Jamai Faye.
yes, he is going around to see kids and then shaking hand with them and all this. I'm not doing comparison, but what I'm trying to portray here is the most important thing is leadership, and the leaders need to understand that ICT today is not a luxury; it's a necessity. It's not a luxury like it used to be before. It's something that is foundational to whatsoever pursuit that you want to do it live.
I think there are a lot of things that needs to be put into consideration here. Let's say if we talk about paradigm shift now, and we are to use AI at its full potential, then anybody can be anything. Yeah, because if you know how to use ChatGPT, you can take the role of a software developer. You just write prompt. That is why we have prompt engineering. All you need to know is how to write the prompts. Then you can write prompt engineering. It gives you the code. You copy and paste. You can be a data analytics. Just upload the data. What are the visuals that I can put into place? But when you talk about that, one thing that we should also consider is domain expertise. Because if anyone can be anything, then we don't have specialists anymore. A domain expertise is also very important, because if I, as an analyst, just uploads data into chat generates the charts for me or the visualizations for me, then how about the storytelling? Who's going to do that for me? You have to understand the data first. You have to know how, or whatever is it that chat is doing, you have to have an understanding of that. Now, domain expertise has to be considered. But then when you also want to slowly climb the ladder up, then fast forward 10 years from now, I don't think we'll be talking about AI as we are talking about it right now. You'll be talking about other technologies like quantum computing. So also slowly climbing the ladder will not make sense.
We don't have
right?
the time.
We don't have the time, exactly.
That's
so
the
what
point
we
that
need
I'm
to do,
trying.
I think
That's
we
the point
need
that I'm trying to make.
more of paradigm shift
So-
and a bit of slowly climbing the ladder.
The thing is like,
Okay, for
is that
me,
when you consider this AI and things are moving fast, and you look at your domain, your perspective, the place where you live and the place where you want to develop. You understand? So
Yeah.
we have to start something now, and that is we have to start the basic fundamental concepts and then move.
See, the point
Yes,
is, I believe, yeah, the idea of a basic concept or a basic or like starting from a base is relative. It depends on the time that you're talking about. Maybe 10 years from now, the foundational level could actually be what, how to write a prompt or chat GPT or how to develop, I don't know, whatever it is. It may not be even be how to understand how code works in the first place. The base could be something else. So it could shift. For example, right now, if you're talking about how to use a computer, nobody's going to learn how to use a typewriter anymore, because that's not the base anymore. The base is actually how to use a computer. See how the base is shifting? Maybe 10 years from now, what we are talking about foundational level could actually be obsolete. Like that is not even considered. It's not even in the conversation anymore.
it's not. It should not even. You should not even attack the word. Maybe it is absolute. Of course, that is certain, right? Like like sometimes, like I think for me, let's just look at one thing. Have actually to focus on that in the next 30 years, so that we know that this will create value. I will use two examples here. Let me start with if we definitely need to read a lot, especially about the past, right? Let's look at Cuba, Fidel Castro, for instance, right? He positioned Cuba in such a way, okay, in the next, generation, we need to produce more amazing doctors than any other country in the world. They got it right. Cuba, even in the Gambia, if all of the Cubans have to go back home, our, healthcare system would definitely collapse, right? So that is a bet that they bet, and then it was rewarded. I mean, we don't have Fidel Castro anymore, but Cuba is benefiting from that.
Yeah.
Having a lot of money coming back to the country because of their expertise. Go to US. I mean, they're very, very critical in the US economy when it comes to the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
Then back to the question that I asked about Taiwan. The Taiwan, when they started about this semiconductor stuff, they didn't absolutely know anything about semiconductors. In fact, the guy who laid the foundation, Maurice Chan, he started TSMC. I mean, he had that vast experience in the US. He actually worked. They just call him. They be like, okay, well, we want to do this. Tell us all of the resources that you definitely need. We will definitely finance. We will take loan and finance that. What they did was they took most of that loan that they took, they invested in that, but then they don't have any idea about it. What they did was, of course, there's something called patents, right? In technology, you actually discover something, then you patent it, right? They bought a lot of it from US, and then they be like, there you go. Nurture this to a certain point whereby we will definitely leverage this. And that is why we have TSMC today. And the only reason why US interest in Taiwan is TSMC.
Yeah.
Or else China, that could have been another situation of today. That is one example. The second example, China is an amazing country that we all need to learn about and learn from. You see, China, after the whole leadership of Mao Zedong, until today they celebrated Mao, what and what not. But after Mao, they still have that communist mentality in them. But after Mao, they have another leader, called Deng Xiaoping. He's the one that opened up China to the world. I mean, his close best friend is, one of my biggest inspirations in the world, LKY, Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, right? A very amazing guy, one of the best leaders in the 21st century, who took China, of course, Singapore, from where, Singapore's GDP to Gambia was equal.
I think they almost have this independent at the same time.
Yeah, in 1965. In fact, there are 3 months gap between their independence, right? And what happened was he made it very clear. Hey, do you know what? We want to have the best airline in Asia. That's the Singaporean Airlines. We have to be very competitive. And at the end of the day, this will get us to a place whereby this will be the financial hub. We have to compete with Hong Kong. But at the same time, also, we have to have a lot of tourists, people coming into our country, in order to drag that attention to the global stage. And they work through that. It doesn't mean they have to build planes. They didn't build any plane. All what they did was, okay, let's have this amount of money, invest a lot of it into the airline industry, and make sure that there will be a hub. For anyone traveling from the east to the west, they have to actually get to Singapore. And until today, Singapore, they have that thing. Even when Donald Trump came to power, he wanted to meet with North Korean president, or what's the name again? Kim. Yeah, they actually had a meeting in Singapore. So it's still a meeting point for wherever you move in Singapore, it's always a meeting
They leverage
point.
their geoposition.
Yeah, they leverage that. And the same thing goes to Kenya. Kenyan Airways. No matter what, like in most cases, you have to pass through Kenya. So for me, like, this whole thing is we are trying to solve too many stuff at the same time. We cannot even be better at one.
Yes, I think that is one of the concerns that I would like to raise.
Even no problem, we cannot fix it.
The similitude of Gambian way of developing things is like you spend 75% of the budget on the roof. You spend 25 on the foundation. What will happen to that particular building when the storm comes? It will destroy everything. I'm
You're
sorry.
still coming back to foundation.
75% is
Yes,
not even spent on things like that. The bottom line is we need the investment to be decentralized, and we need people who are capable, who are visionaries to head those things. We need money for things to move in this country. Like all of the case studies and scenarios that you were given, money was the bottom brain. They needed to bring experts. Those experts needed to be trained. Look at the situation with Senegal, with the healthcare system. They took a lot of doctors, sent them out. That's why Senegal has now a lot of surgeons who were doing amazing work and all of that. But if we sit here and we don't take the experts to go and then bring them back and be able to also keep them into the country, we're still moving at the same space.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, what's one thing that we need to fix? One thing, two things, three things, and all of that. But if we have a lot of the experts in the country who are not looking at that, then what happens?
Yeah, but
a lot of the people with most of the knowledge to really bring this place to be such an amazing country in 2 years' time. Where are they? Are they here?
Yeah,
Are they here?
everything boils down to how you see talent. You understand? All these stories we are talking about, they value talent. They invest in talent. They invest in the resources. So it's not like how it happens, because I attended a lot of conferences in the Gambia, a lot of seminars, a lot of programs, because I'm a leader in the areas, the kids in technology and developing technology in the country here. But most of the time is people are talking about so many things. The most important thing is the implementation. And like C rightly mentioned, how can you retain talents and how can we develop all these things that we are talking about? It's not only talking about it, it's doing it. Who are those supposed to open the way? Like, let's say the gateway, something like that. To open ways, for all these things to happen. Like I said, we have innovators, we have like a lot of people trying to make this country great. But who are the people who should award us, reward us, give us incentive or whatsoever things that will retain talents in the Gambia here? You understand? Who are those people? And how can that be possible? That is the most important thing. Now we need to act. We need to stop talking about all so many things that are just, we have been reiterating, talking about it since the previous years. Now we need to implement. And like he said, even if we take one of those things, we have so many things, but even if we take one of those things and rightly implement it and sustain it, is better than having like dozens implemented nothing.
I think I would definitely step into that. Vusi, always to emphasize on this. You see, leaders at every single point, they have to have the entrepreneurial mindset. Because at the end of the day, someone needs to pay the bills.
Exactly.
Even at government level.
Yep.
So, I mean, come on. The data that we're currently working on, I was definitely shocked and surprised when I saw this year's budget. Over $1.7 billion is from the Saudi Fund for Development this year in this country. you ask the question, where did all of that money went? It's a big question.
So the other, yes.
So that is one. Two, sometimes that is why, for me, I'm not invested in most of these, panels, what and what not. Because some things are there. Let's say, youth empowerment project, like that initiative, that I won't actually, make much of the research about it. I just had, $10 million was invested into the whole initiative, what and what. And my biggest question is this. That $10 million that has been invested by the EU in the Gambia, how many startups, solid startups, have that money really, gotten us to? We cannot even name one, not to my knowledge.
Most of that money went into consultation. That's the problem. And a lot of the startups who could have benefited from that, they didn't get it.
Yeah.
They picked point startups who were already doing well, and that's not how you build a country. You do not just take the people that have already started something. You give them something and you put them at the flagship. But if you want somebody to create something that is going to be sustainable and that's going to grow within a period of 5 years, you do not give them 100,000 loan. What is that going to take? Going to get them?
Sure. So 100. In fact, for me, one thing that I've realized is, when we came back, when we started GoMindz, that first 1 year we spent. I was shocked when the financial report came to me. $20,000 was being spent on going after government projects. From that point, thank God I have to meet at a certain point with Andy Isa of Sebek, right? See, advice. It was like, well, you know what? Don't be going after these government projects. At the end of the day, you're taking money from your own pocket and then investing. Imagine 1 year you spent over $20,000 on a startup.
Very wise decision.
Like that doesn't make sense. I wanted to pack every single thing out and then just leave the country. But the only thing that made me to stay was the team that he actually know,
Yes, because
it's not like they're employees, like they are family now, like they are family, right?
Yes.
We do every single thing together at the end of the day. So that was the only thing but then I was like, hey, do you know what? I have to pivot. I have to have that entrepreneurial mindset of something that will pay the bills. Then, we started the academy. She was actually, she started as a student in the academy. And from that point, here we are today. It's only 2023, ending of 2023, that we started to realize the value of, GoMindz itself. But then, along the line, we have to learn a lot, along the line, developing that. Only recently, they were in a conversation and then I was not there. Most of the senior guys were not there. They were being sent on a requirement gathering. And then always we do hear about that. Someone was telling them, oh, how is it that do we know, these amazing people in this country, what and what not. I have met with a lot of consultants who are from outside that I happen to meet, on LinkedIn data science, they happen to reach out to me and then I have to meet with them and then they will, oh, we have people who are talented, like, especially in AI and data science like you in this country. But, if you're in those kind of situations, like, you have to understand your priorities. Or else, come on. Like, this entrepreneurship, someone has to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you cannot position yourself in that point, no matter how amazing, visionary that, Paul Kagame is, he understood, go and ask about tax in Rwanda. It's really high. But then at the end of the day, someone has to pay their bills. So, in the Gambia, what happened is definitely our leaders, they don't have that entrepreneurial mindset. At every single step that we've seen, some of the actions that they do, we come to know most of them are not, in fact, they've been dictated by businessmen in this country.
Exactly.
Businessmen are doing more than politicians in this country. We all know that at the end of the day. So I think, for me, it's all about having an agenda and then prioritizing something and not wasting much time. Why? We have few years to live. Why should we waste much of our time doing something that has already been done somewhere? Focus on one thing, be very, very good at it, and then bam, there you go.
Yeah. So exactly. What on the side of the government and policymakers, what I think they should do is, one is to offer interest-free loans to SMEs. Another thing that they should do is just focus on the infrastructure, build it and maintain it, right? And then attract foreign investment, or people with money to invest in the tech industry. And the point about also adapting to AI,
sorry, before I just want to make a point. I was discussing with, a consultant yesterday, he made this point. He it was like we want to start outsourcing some of our open source project. It's a US based company. To currently we are working with Indian companies in order to open source, to outsource some of these contracts in India. But we're looking forward to outsource it in Africa, right? And then we have checked your CV and all of that kind of stuff with experience and all of that. That's quite amazing. But when we look at the macros of Gambia, it's actually not making sense to us. So consider this. If we are going to award you guys the contract, you guys will move to Senegal.
Because
I
Senegal,
think
Senegal
similar
has the
things.
infrastructure.
What he's
Yes,
talking
they have
about,
the
we have like we have similar experience. He's a friend of mine. It's like Gambia. Even if you want to invest, sometimes it's a problem.
It's not the most attractive place for
Yeah, because
investors.
when you come to, we're talking about, last time I attended a program about this investment. A lot of investment were there. People were talking about so many things. But then at the end of the day, in fact, even if you invest here, you establish your business here. Where are the talents?
And this is why we need to adapt again to AI. Again, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys, but you guys are not listening
we
to what
can
I'm telling
adapt
you.
to AI and do all of those things, and we can also, like you're all talking about, foreign investment, attract foreign investment. But what is in the country to can start paying for stuff? You invest to make money and then reinvest again. There's so many initiatives that are going. Look at the airport situation. I'm always offended to pay that $1,000.
Yeah,
A percentage of that can go into education, into research and all of that. But who is there to say, okay, this is what we are making at the end of every quarter from the airport tax. We're taking 15% of that to build capacity in this area. GRA2 comes up and says, so this money that we are getting from the taxes, that this is what is going to be reinvested back in agriculture. There's so many agricultural experts who are Gambian. Just people are very committed to giving back to their country if they are called upon. You open an open call, bring those experts together, let them sit, let them have a forum, let them decide what do we need to do this and this and this for. We already have people in School of Agriculture and all of that. You now bring in the technology, teach them how to use the technology, using people who come from those communities. That's why sustainability has to come into play a lot. Then you take another area as well and say, okay, we do not have money for this and this in healthcare. The money that we are paying at the hospital level, a percentage of that is going to contribute to training doctors outside. In that way, they sign their contracts and all of that. They have to come back and give back. I have a friend who has, I will not say the sector that he is in, who has benefited from a scholarship like that. But there is no data to ensure that those people who are outside, they begin to come back. Because even monitoring what they're doing, my friend complained a lot about, no one has ever reached out to him about his studies and all of that. When he finished, he just stayed where he is and things are moving. But his friends who were from Rwanda, every year the government paid for them to go back home to spend time. They were being monitored, they were being provided for. When their program ended, they all had to go back and serve the country. So we need to put these things into perspective. We need to bring these things on the table and also talk about them. But also those of us who are very knowledgeable can also make resounding noise in that. And we can sit here and say, oh, the technology needs to do this and the technology needs to do that. But before the technology can do that, it's the people who have to move it to say, this is what we're going to do. This is what we want to achieve at this particular period of time. Gambia, we like to do things fast-paced. For development to be done properly, you cannot say in 6 months we're going to achieve this. And then at the end of the day, where's the research track? Somebody can die. There's no continuity of that.
Yeah.
I have a situation with one of the partners that I work with. The person resigned, and now the person who took over doesn't have any knowledge of what they're supposed to do with me. Now I have to go back to square one to bring them up to speed because there was not proper documentation of the project that was already on ground. So how can we all see the traction of what we are trying to do in 5 years, be able to measure it? The data has to be there. Institutions have to prioritize data, put it there. There's a report channel for all of those things. If someone collapses or there's a change of leader, there's continuity. If somewhere there's a hierarchy to things, if he is no longer there, someone can take over because they understand what has already been done. And we need those things to be properly strengthened, not just at policy level. We all need to do the bit that we can in the areas that we are passionate about and build talent. Even if it's 5 people that you are empowering, those 5 people can contribute something to the bigger picture. And if we try to start looking at development in that way, not just like, oh, this is there's so many people in healthcare, there's so many people in technology. What does Gambia need for us to be able to implement the things that are already bringing all of those professionals? Let them be the ones to decide how things can be done. Let them be the expert building group. But don't just bring somebody, you take one person and you put it there, and the rest of the team, they don't know what they're supposed to do. You were, in a way, limiting what that person can do because their team is not set up in the right state of mind or with the right expertise to support what they are to do. Even if they don't have an idea about it, people have to be enabled. You need to make sure that salary there, other incentives that are put there, money is invested to bring back money that will be rewarding. And for tech to properly be implemented in this country, we need to look at the sectors that are really fundamental to the sustainability: agriculture, tourism, education, and manufacturing. Even manufacturing, maybe we're not really doing much with that. But it's young people who are going to be at decision level making, or who are going to be junior staff. And if those junior staff are not enabled with what they need to do and are not equipped with the skill sets, and they're not given the right kind of environment to grow, then everybody wants to leave the country. And who will you blame for it?
No, I agree with you. We had a guest here. They were talking about Gambia needs a mindset shift, big time. We have an attitude problem. There's a lot of underlying issues that needs to be addressed. But for me, what I look at is, I'm a geek, right? What I look at trends. I look at what's happening outside, and my hope would be like having discussions like this is, if one of the viewers are looking at this, be like, oh, okay, we need to maybe start looking into this, right? You look at tech companies recently. It's a very dramatic shift. Look at how they're embracing AI. Microsoft recently just released their new laptops and their new Windows version, and the Copilot is AI. Apple, that has never mentioned in their keynote the word AI, right? The WWDC, it's about, I think it's in June this month, right? It's reported they're about to release AIs in their phones, in their laptops, and so many things. These are the kind of trends that I look at. Also, when you come to say agriculture, you look at places like Singapore. Singapore, they're doing smart farming. You go to a skyscraper, you look at a skyscraper, it's all farm, right? They're using AI. And what this does is, we have a very finite, skillful individuals in the Gambia. Make use of these individuals, because I just refuse to believe there are people in this country that do not have the basic knowledge already. We have people with masters in agriculture, but they have nothing to do.
Exactly.
So, Gando,
Why do you think that is?
Because there's a lot of things that are lacking. First of all, the infrastructure for these people to be able to practice, put into practice what it is that they've already acquired, the knowledge they've acquired. It's not available.
Why do you think that is not available from first principle now?
I mean, then again, most of it comes back to the government, right? There's just certain things, core structures that should be in place that are not here. And this is where, when foreign companies look at, like, for example, like West Africa to invest in, Gambia is not the most attractive place to invest in. One, we have an electricity problem. Another thing we have in roads issues. Another thing we have in internet problems. And you look at Senegal, which is just right next door. It makes more sense to just move to Senegal than to come into the Gambia. So yeah, there's an aspect that the government has to address, and this is build the infrastructure and maintain it, right? But also on a private level, we do need to adapt to some of these trends. Whether we see the benefit now or we don't see it now, 5 years from now, this conversation is going to be completely different.
Okay, so I just want to ask this question, right? We need to have an industry that we need to be very good at in the future. And whilst we are spending a lot of resources nurturing that in the future, what other industry do you think can be leveraged right now to pay the bills of whilst we do keep nurturing that? Let's say tech, we want to have, something in the future that we want to build capacity, but whilst we are building that capacity, what other industry do you think we can definitely leverage in order to be able to pay the bills?
Are you talking from a government level or from private level?
From the government level.
I mean, we just collected 15.7 billion in tax. It's not like we don't have the money. We do have the money, because $15.7 billion that's not a small amount of money. Where's that money going to? That's the question we need to ask. Not what industry can we leverage to raise the money. The money is already there.
But who's going to release that money to be able to do the things that we need to? And you asked the question of what industry can we leverage to pay the bills. There's also another solution. What industry can we leverage to make the solution? Research is very important, and a lot of countries leverage on academia, universities, to do those background research of what they need. If we invest in education, especially academic, setting up research center, agriculture, for instance, they have a research center in CRR. Within that 4 years period of a bachelor's level, master's, PhD, students are there with their professors. They're doing the research that needs to be done. They're learning the technology. They are implementing it, and all of that. You begin to see that within 5 years of that, agriculture has expanded. Agriculture technological using mechanized farming will expand to other areas, and there will be sustainable farming, because these people are looking at models that they can replicate. And investment in education is very vital to the development of a country.
Agreed.
Not just giving people scholarships to go to school. You need to set up research needs to be properly done in academia in the country, even at the vocational level. People need to be well grounded in the subject, not just well grounded, but have enough practical knowledge that is being funded. And that's where private sector can come in. Taxpayers' money can also go there. If the University of the Gambia does well with positioning their research center in such a way that they can bring in funding, and that students are able to, have a lab, they can do all of these things, test pilot their ideas and all of that. That's where you begin to see the level of patriotism that comes into play. Because if somebody is not committed to giving back, at the end of the day, they're just going there to just learn and move on. Education needs to be done in a way that you were creating a solution, not just learning stuff. Because if you're just learning stuff, you are there with theoretical knowledge. But we also need the money pushers to invest the money where it is really necessary for us to be able to do things, and not just move the money and say, okay, in 1 year, in 2 years, this is what we're investing. Who's monitoring where the money is going? We have a problem whereby a lot of money is coming in. Then new projects are being set up, and project managers there and there to manage this. But there are already people in the country working on those things already. Give those people the money. They understand what is needed on ground. But you bring in us and create a whole office here, blah blah blah, and then at the level of consultation, even you forget about the hubs. You say you're working with entrepreneurs. There are already hubs that are in the country doing that. Then you set up a whole team, you set up a new office for that. What's the purpose of that? Divide the money, give it to the hubs. This is what needs to be done. Let them tell you how that can be achieved, because they're the ones working it with the entrepreneurs across the country. You take this money, you give it to the healthcare practitioners and tell them, okay, School of Nursing or School of Medicine and all, this is what is available for you with your research. You bring and let them find experts. You will find a lot of Gambian experts doing amazing outside. Talk to those people, but we don't have the data of those people. Talk to them, bring them back, let them sit, even if it's for a period of 3 years or 3 months, sit them down, let them tell you what they need to set up a lab that's just meant for research in healthcare. You give the money to the tech gurus who are doing the data science and working with, and then everybody is doing their quota because the money is there. There's an incentive there. The money is there. They can buy stuff. They can purchase stuff, but not just bring something. We're going to do this, and this is what was invested in this. This is the budget that we have at the end of the day. Where does the budget go?
What he's saying really makes sense, If you look at the population of this country is very small. You look at the money coming is big. The population is small. The money coming for all these things we are talking about is big. So right now, how many players we have here? We have 3 players, and these are fundamental. If you knock the door of Gambia, you call who is developing talents in real time, practically, it will come to one of us. Kids in technology is doing remarkable well. Welcome to these hands-on activities. GoMindz is doing, Joko Labs is doing. But if you all complain that the money coming here for these related things we are talking about is not reaching to us, where is the money going to? That is a question.
A big question.
That's
And
no,
what
that is
she
there's a
mentioned
big
was
question
also
mark there.
very important about academia. I was about to make that point because all the technologies that we are benefiting from today, someone made a research about it probably 2-3 decades ago. The AI that we are talking about right now, Jeffrey Hinton made that research when he was in university doing his thesis in the 90s. So investing in academia is very, very important because it is the grassroots.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guest here, and they mentioned something very profound that I didn't think about. He said the difference between countries that are doing well economically and countries that are not doing well, the difference is education. That's it.
That is it.
Nothing else. That is a clear indication. A country that is successful, the indication for that country's success is their education, how much money they're putting in. I mean, a lot of the technologies that we're enjoying now, it's places like MIT, places like Stanford. They're all university projects that trickle down to consumer level. Not recently, maybe a few months ago, a year ago, University of Tokyo, I was just having a discussion with Deri a few days ago, and another university in the US, they're partnering to basically bring quantum computers to mass consumption.
Yeah, mass consumption, yeah.
That's a leap, and this is like university projects, right? You have like PhD holders, students that are just very, like you were saying, like practical areas where they could actually research and like R&D, We don't have that in Gambia.
No,
Gambia, does the university even have like a farm where they
do
just
research?
yeah?
No,
Yeah,
I think
they do. But what happened is
How effective is that?
it is not effective because what happened is most of the professors in the university come together to have a private sector called SEPRAS. Those are the people that do have opinion polls about the elections because they've been doing that. But the University Research Council around the MDI road, around where APRC bureau used to be opposite. That's where actually the University of the Gambia, but it's not really effective. So for me, coming back to that thing that I've said, let's look at the economy as a whole, and then looking back to the last decade. I mean, one sector that we have a very big potential, and then we haven't capitalized at all. We haven't done any good investment is the tourism sector.
Exactly.
This is actually like that's how countries get developed. Why? We don't have, of course, like we have to be clear. These are facts. We don't have the best airport in the region. We don't have the best hotel in the, everything is just lacking. But look at the tourism sector over the past years. It has really, to the Gambian economy, it plays a very, very crucial role at that specific point. With no infrastructure, with no electricity, with no, of course, digital infrastructure, with no correct airport, yes, still tourism. Tourists are coming every single year. We didn't invest. How about if we do invest? That is a whole discussion of another thing. That can be leveraged, right? That is one example. Let's say most of us who have traveled outside. The biggest, disgrace that you can ever have is you have a friend who is from outside. Let's say Rwanda, they say they want to visit the Gambia. The first thing that you will start asking, where will I take this individual to? And in most cases, you end up doing like, okay, let's stay in the Gambia here for 1 week, 2 days, then we go to Senegal. Senegal will be finally like a safe haven for you because at least like you can do a lot of activities there, whatever. How many of us, how many companies do definitely have, that, end of year vacation, you go to Senegal. That is what is telling you lack of investment on that area. That is one. The second thing, if I'm to advise for the government, looking forward, West Africa, we have to be the financial hub of West Africa. Look at over the past, since Jawara's time, our economy has been stable, especially the Dalasi, over the past years. I mean, look at West Africa. What happened is, most of these countries who have a stable economy too, they use the CFA. But we've seen the problem, especially with Senegal. They wanted to break away with that. You have Mali, you have Burkina, you have all of these other people. So there is bound to be a instability in that sector. So we could position ourselves there and then be the financial hub. Invest a lot in technology and then attract a lot of investors in the country. And then, in fact, people are coming. That's what is telling you the tourism sector is something that is very, very good. And the most important aspect of it also, leverage our geolocation. That is something that's very, very important. Because coming from Europe all the way to West Africa, Gambia is the first English-speaking country that you will definitely have. And that is a very, very solid, these are all, if you use our SWOT analysis as a country, we can definitely leverage that. Other things can come later once we have succeeded, in these things, of course, 100%. But what gets you to that point? Position the education system, no matter how you position it to, a specialization. This way we want to get to in the next, 30 years. Imagine Uganda is a landlocked country.
Yes.
But will they be like, they will focus on other stuff? No, they know where they're positioning themselves at the end of the day.
But
Paul
Kagame is really very serious when it comes to education.
Yes. So I think, those are some of the most important things. And then, talking about, mentioning a point that, she rightly mentioned about the hubs. One of the biggest success of the Nigerian entrepreneurship, all of them, can track back to CC Hub.
Exactly.
All of them, you call them, Andela, Paystack, all of them at a certain point they met at a hub called CC Hub. So imagine only the founder of Andela, he's actually founding 2 unicorn companies in the continent. So that will literally tell you, part of that is something that is quite very, very important. But I just don't know, like the entrepreneurial, mindset is not there. And this is not only now that we have seen that, even during the Javaras regime. Look at some of the most successful people who came around the region. Look at the Fullers who migrated to Gambia and then they did business. They came here with, few, dollars. But then look at most of the Saraoles and other people. But look at the success that they have in this country. And then you look at the native Gambians. All what we ever cared about is traveling. This thing of traveling, it didn't start today. Those days you have to be a semester, you come, you drive a big car, you make noise, everyone will be like, hey, suma uncle, suma, what and what, and it still continues. Mota hale, like that is still in their mindset. For me to make it, I have to travel. This is something that we inherited.
It's a mindset shift that
yes,
we need to have.
even I don't cut you, but even us, the innovators, is like, because imagine somebody doing a lot of things in the robotics, all these things. You say he's still in the Gambia. Most of the people call me and tell me, you know what, leave this country. The country people will in fact force you to leave this country. Even the people in the higher level, sometimes they ask you to leave the country. And yet still, the country is crying. They said, we want socio-economic development, we want the country to do this and this and that. People are talking about it. You understand? But then it's not happening.
The problem that we have here is we talk,
That
but
is
we
the
don't
problem.
do. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of it, a whole lot of it. I mean, there was a time I met this guy, that Fini. I was at transit at Morocco, where he I think he went for some kind of an event in Turkey, and we met at the airport in Morocco, and we were just talking, and he's in the government, right? The guy was just talking about the problems in the Gambia. We're having these issues, attitude problems, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. But then I'm looking at him, right? You work in the government. You're making all these complaints. I can't remember exactly which government department he was working in, but they're the most corrupt department, right? And you're basically seeing all these issues like this is happening, that is happening, this is happening. I'm just looking at this guy. I'm like, you can't be serious about what it is that you're saying.
I think the same thing happens when I saw people on TV talking about technology, that we need to empower ICT, we need to empower digital literacy or whatsoever. When I look at them, I see myself, I'm in the Gambia. I say, what is this man saying? And that man knows me.
It was for a tech event. I remember now. It was for a tech event, right? this is the problem that we have. People that are in positions, they don't take the right people to get the knowledge, right? Everybody wants a per diem, everybody wants to travel. But you'd work in a company, for example, even it happens in the private sectors, where you have like the MD or the deputy MD or someone in a higher position that's always doing the traveling. You're going for an event in like China where it's like a tech event, but you have someone that's brilliant in your company. But because you want the per diems, you want to travel, you want the photos, you not allow those people to access this network. This is another problem, big issue that we need to talk about. I mean, look at Gamtel, for example, right? Gamtel should have been, I don't even know how to say it, but Gamtel should not have been where it is today.
1,000,000%. In fact, in terms of tech, that's where we lost it.
Exactly.
Gamtel, when they started, the positioning was very amazing throughout Africa.
Gamtel have the infrastructure already.
We lost it.
They just need good management.
Yep.
Good management. I've been trying to implement my program for like a year now, but government will always say, "Oh, we do not have the money. You do not have the money to give me this." And you already said you're interested. We have the MOU. Give us the money. Let us start the implementation. We've done all the background work. We've gotten the data. We've met the partners we're supposed to work with. Oh, we do not have the money. What do you not have the money as a ministry for?
I think the same thing happens to us. It's like currently we are even struggling to go to Senegal. We have to represent the country for Pan-African robotic competition. Last year, I think we have like series of 5 fields because of funding and all those things.
Yeah.
Currently, we're doing GoFund because the 2022 one we won the whole Africa. We took first the Gambia, and that in fact award was very it was not that much very celebrated.
Definitely.
Countries that get fourth position. I think it's Uganda. Those people they welcome them in their parliament and give them all the necessary support.
And
but the Gambia took first.
Not even people heard about it.
That is quite important because even recently, that's what I told Sergio Baldes, the photographer in the AFCON, right? We've been struggling so hard in order to try to get her that funding for her to because anytime that we reach out is always a problem. And then even recently when that whole AFCON thing happened, and she went to Ghana recently, after coming from AFCON, she went to Ghana. At a certain point, she called me, she was crying. And then I was like, what happened? She was like, yo, the way I'm celebrated in Ghana, right from the airport, they paid for like every single thing. She didn't even have to stay in a hotel. Gambia always like, I actually do drop her at the airport and then pick her at the airport, right? Even the day before yesterday, she's from Senegal. In our airport,
other countries celebrate achievements. Gambia, we don't celebrate people's achievements. Look at Gina Bass took like what, 4th, I believe.
With Gina
Bass, the athlete.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's doing amazing right now in
for me. But now, if we don't celebrate talents,
but that's the problem though that we have. The problem that we have is this is it. I don't know if it's like an ego problem or a hatred problem or whatever the problem is. We don't celebrate people while they are still alive, right? But when it's trending, everybody wants to jump on it. They want to be a part of it. Like if you ask, like she was saying, there's a lot of Gambians outside that are doing amazing. There's this guy that was working in Microsoft in the US. He left his job, right? Came to the Gambia. There was a drone program that they initiated for the government, because the government promised them, if you come, we'll give you the money, we'll give you the funding, we'll give you the projects. They had to chase the government for like 2-3 years, spending so much money. At the end of the day, they abandoned it. And they were like, we will never come back to Gambia, even though they're Gambians.
I think Gambia is like kind of a talent cemetery, killing people.
It's very harsh to SMEs, it's very harsh to startups.
Honestly,
if you
sometimes they frustrate, the system frustrates you.
They do.
Because you have talents, you have vision. It's like
So,
people like us, we are with high energy
to
move to but if you knock this door, it's locked, that door is locked, every door is locked. If you don't have, if not with our vision and with our resilience, we will travel.
Yeah. No,
and we all have the opportunity to do.
Exactly.
You understand?
You look at places like China. China do not destroy businesses or like startups. They support, right? That's why China, they don't have this concept of like patents, for example. If there's a technology that benefits the whole population, anyone should jump on it and develop it. and invent something from that idea. And if, for example, like a company that's doing very well, they're like a very good trajectory to, improve, and they kind of falter, China will not destroy it. They will not close that business. They will discipline the person, but they will support the business because they understand the importance of having startups grow. And this is why China today is the biggest economy, in my opinion, in the world.
I think for me, in order to be able to simplify this, the only thing that we are responsible in this country is our government, is our central government.
Yeah.
Why? Because at every single sector, go to Westfield, see those young boys who struggle if you park your car, who becoming. That's where entrepreneurship starts,
Yeah.
right from the ground level, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, like the most important thing, go to Senegal. Before you see like a foreigner doing, stuff, hustling, they themselves, they do the hustling 24 hours. You go to Guinea, you go to Mali, you go to Ivory Coast, like they themselves literally, do it. So for me here, like the only thing that we definitely are fully in charge, and that is by default, of course, as a government is actually the people that are definitely in charge. Why? So for me, in order to be able to revive this, the pioneers, they should have this mindset not to wait for it from the government. It will never come. If you have that mentality, it helps. But if you have that mentality, of course, because I can relate, because first time experience, I have failed more than like 2 years spending own money and then putting it doesn't work. That doesn't mean, of course, LinkedIn always. I have, jobs, out of traveling, it's not something, sometimes they will sit and they'll be like, don't you want to travel? It's not part of, okay, like I come to understand one thing. Do you know what? As a pioneer, you just have to go through that. And some people, like Vuzi said, they have to, be on the ground to hold the fort for other people. Of course, when I've started, it's not even, people notice it, right? No one came to me and they be like, let me put this $50,000, let me put this $60,000 at the end of the year to help out. If I'm even stuck, sometimes I need money, I call my closest friends, people like, Neri, and then others, yo, dude, like, I need this. And then they solve that thing for me. And currently we're in a position whereby people do reach out to me, yeah, you guys are doing this. So, what's the percentage share of X, Y, and Z? I just made it very clear. That's not the conversation that I want to have now at this specific point. So right now, I have a different mentality. Since when I realized, hey, do you know what? If government money comes with time, that's fine, salam. If not, I'm not even looking back in order to be like, at the end of the day. Let's say about the G-Boss, this whole, data stuff. I'm very, very close to the team. I know everyone that plays. I have the opportunity. I could have been, at that specific point. But what happened was like, I was like, hey, do you know what? Let me focus on my stuff. And even when it reached, when they started it, I was one of the first people that they reached out to. Hey, this is the link. We are going to release it tomorrow. Try to put in your people, what and what not at the end of the day, And then I have, some of my staffs who are in fact conducting the training, Steve and others. Why? They're conducting the training. But then I am focusing on other stuff where the thing is paying my bills. It's not going after, at the end of the day, what is the point? Because this way, the very people that will be like, no, you're just wasting your time. Why don't you just, why did you come back? Why did you, why still here? What and what not? So you will not come up to this point and then be like, hey, do you know what? Come, what is there, like, for me? So I think, especially most of us who are pioneering spaces that have never, something that have never been done, it's just the sad reality. But we don't have a choice. It will be tough. It will be tougher than ever. I mean, the baseline is, let's enjoy the journey.
I think everything goes back now to the awareness. They say those that are the policy makers, those that are supposed to make the policies to make sure that, there is a level playing ground for everyone, especially entrepreneurs, those that are supposed to give out the funding. Are they really aware of the technological advancement that is happening?
Yes.
Are they? Now, that is a question. The awareness is a problem. Right now, I can tell you for a fact that more than 95% of youths, especially university students, they don't even know about AI. They don't know about ChatGPT. Like students will come, do you know what is AI?
I don't wanna
They've
cut you
never
off.
even
Don't
heard of it.
be like the government that just throw out statistics like that.
But like I can tell you for a fact because I have friends out there. Sometimes you post something about AI. I intentionally
I think
does
I
that.
think university students know about ChatGPT because it helps them with their assignments and stuff.
But it's quite very few. Like you tell them what is AI, they don't even know. Like
Yeah, of
how
course.
come in this day and age you don't even know what is AI? And obviously you're benefiting from AI every single day. You're using social media, the recommendation systems, they are all AI. So everything goes back to awareness. I think I was so frustrated with this awareness stuff. Sometime last year I started Neuraland. Yeah, it was kind of like having young people on board, having these, a group of, more like a society or a community of youngsters that are aware of these technological advancement and try to adapt it. I started that, but then I realized that there's a huge gap that needs to be fixed, and I kind of like tend to stop it. Still now I'm thinking of reviving it, but there are so many things that I'm trying to put into consideration. So awareness is also very lacking. There's a huge gap there.
Yeah. I mean, like an example that I can give, for example, to adapting AI and some of these models where you could make money is with smart devices. Like I think to bridge building like the devices that you guys are building and actually put it into use where you could make money out of that is adapting, it's embracing AI. An example that I can give is like say smart lights or like smart switches or garage doors or smart switches for ACs where you can take a language model and teach it how to understand local language, like Olaf, for example, like Fair Lampabi, right? Because you've already taught it the language. It is something that you can apply.
Yeah.
So something like that, you can easily partner with, say, construction companies, where they could include that into the houses they are building for clients. Where, okay, you know what, we are going to do the building. Your company, for example, would handle the smart aspect of the home, right? This is an industry that I see can be leveraged to make money out of. You don't necessarily have to wait for the government to come and solve our issues. Yeah. You can actually look at industries that you could provide real life solutions for and make money out of it. And you just have to be a little bit creative with it. And the reason why I'm saying AI, I'm singing AI again, there's a lot of potential for it. I mean, for example, like you can get a large language model that you can teach how to understand the Gambian laws, for example, right? Where you can build an application where people, if they want to understand the Gambian law and how to apply it or defend themselves, they could pay a subscription for it. This is another sector that you could use.
Not to cut you on that. In fact, whilst I was, doing prayer time, I can certainly recall, I was performing ablution and then these things was coming to my mind because recently what I was discussing with him here when, you ask if you're doing coding and all of that kind of stuff, for the team, for the meantime, like they're focusing on, BI, business intelligence, trying to solve business problems here and there. But then also part of it, especially last week during our reshuffling, because I did some reshuffling in the team, is to have those, thing aside. Example, especially the Indaba X, we have a very amazing Gambian, Professor Ba, Dr. Ba, who studied in Oxford and then now, he's one of the people who is leading Indaba X. So, right, is having that concept to integrate local problems, especially we're currently building this application called Baycat. So what Baycat, does is actually helping farmers in order to provide a market. But it's more of like, we integrate AI in order for it to help most of the farmers. We understand they're not educated, they didn't go to school, but mostly it will be audio based. Because most of African parents who are not educated, they do use smartphone. But how will you know people are educated in the group if you start seeing voice note throughout? Not you shouldn't be in this place. Yeah. It's people who can't type. Yeah. So we understand now the approach should be different. So we want to have that Baycat to be able to be fully AI immersive that can help definitely people in order to be able, to solve that problem. So, before I come here, I was engaging, Marong on that conversation. So how are we going to approach that? We did a demo day before yesterday, at Roots in order to be able to support that initiative. Week before last, we have approached FAO, and other people, and then we have already done pre-financing on that, specifically. So what happened is, it's not only about, to me, we've passed that point of just writing a proposal and all of that kind of stuff. Go solve another problem, make profit, make good money out of that, take that, come and see another problem, go resolve that problem at the end of the day. So if you are up to it in order to support, farmers, based on subscription or, one-time exit, out of that point. But then I come to realize, okay, as a data science company, these are some of the problems that we need to solve, right? And then that's why it's very, very important, having to have them in such conversations becomes important, because, as you rightly mentioned here, if it is not me, then who? Someone should take up that, responsibility. And I make sure I did this part of our culture, which is deliberate, and then, she knows about it. For me, you can only be in one position for 1 year. The next year, you have to move to another position, whether you like it or not. Like, that is part of your KPIs. You need to perform. So that, like, next year, let's say, next year we're expecting, the director, to be somewhere, and then she will become the director of the academy. And then that's how everything, got saved. Even this baker, I made it very clear. We're building it, but if it comes to the time to pushing it into the market, I will not be, leading the baker. But then I have to be training someone now in order to be able to be like, okay, this is another startup of its own. You go manage that. But you've been with us, you've been making, mistakes, you've been learning from it. Yeah, we get your back. We will definitely support you. So I think, this kind of conversation, like, if you're building, you have to understand this. We've passed through the generation whereby only one individual will build, only one individual will become extremely successful. We're not in that generation anymore. We are in the generation whereby, we have to create wealth at the end of the day, and then leverage that wealth in order to create it back to the economy, to the society, so that most of these people will definitely make it. So for me, like, the most important aspect, that's why most of the time I do prevent them from going to most of these conferences or, to some of these panels, because I do have this belief, okay, it's not only about talking. If it is talking, dude, like, when I was going to uni, me and my friends, Gambian friends, we used to sit, and they can attest to that, the whole entire night from 10 all the way to 6 a.m. we are talking about Gambian problems. So, but then now it's not about talking. You're on the ground now. Now you need to have problems,
solutions.
Solutions, and not only talking about the solutions, but what of your resources are you putting in out there? You put in manpower. You put in, you're paying for those servers. Like, let's say the baker right now, we've already deployed it. But what happened at the end of it? We have the agro mines at that specific point. So in fact, the agro mines went up to a point. At a certain point, they reach out to me. For me to come, we have the discussion about the intellectual property. I was like, not really. We've done the research. We've done extensive work on it. We have met farmers. We've met, restaurants. We've done intense investment on that. But it's an idea that we just put it here. So in case if we don't have anything that we're actually doing with clients, most of those people will be disconnected in order to work on it. Let's say if we have the funding, we can fully focus on it, let's say for 6 months in order to complete. But since we don't have funding, we are working on it from time to time. I'm not, because I made it very clear to all of the staff. You see, this is where we need to build leaders at the end of the day to take care of this. And then the baker, this is where we need to have people to take care of this. The academy, this is where we have actually people to take. We've started with the academy. We've experienced this, with the academy. I think it's been now 6 months since I've left, everything. Right now at the academy, they don't even need my signature. Whether I'm there, I'm not there, it operates on its own at this specific point. Now, even we're getting to the point, even, part of the funding, like, I'm not even part of it. They mix all of the decisions and whatnot. So I made it very clear. This is a successful model. Let's now try to replicate it in other stuff. Let's say currently we have, one application that we're definitely rolling out called the Mega Store, right? I have a separate team on that, 5 of them. I made it very clear to them. 5 of you work on this, take it to the market. We've built every single thing, take it to the market. Out of these 5 of you, one individual is going to, be the CEO and then lead this whole entire point. So there is going to be breakaway point. So basically it's like an incubator, but you're doing it internally. There's no, need, because normal incubators, how they work, sometimes is, especially in Africa, you have to call on the idea, wait for funding or government to come. For us, we're doing it like in our own ways. Have this, build the leader, to take this project outside there. So I think, for me to grow as a community, yeah, like these are things that are some of the most important point, things, not only building the product, but then also building the leaders. That product might not work, but those people who have led the market strategy, they will learn a lot. They will meet with people. In fact, right now, let's say last week, they've approached a lot of people. I don't even know about, how many people they approach. I was like, in a month, you can come and report to me. Done.
Yeah.
So I think, we need to have more, more of this kind of stuff in the country, especially if you are building, because there's just one individual. How can you be, focusing on this? That is to reiterate about, people whom, like you have a company, but if it is traveling, you're the one who is actually going. If it is a panel, you are actually, the same individual who is definitely going. I think, since when I came back, this is the first panel that the second panel that I found myself on. Of course, I'm really close to Pandega and all of that. Some of these people, like, they are, since day one, even coming up with the name GoMindz, So anytime that they call on my attention, I will definitely go. But then I hardly put myself, at that specific point, because we're focusing more of, not about only talking, but then let's do it. Because most of these young ones, if they see you're always talking, they will always be talking.
No, that's the thing, and a platform like this, the advantage that it has is we are able to share ideas. What I can contribute to whatever it is that you guys are doing is I can create a platform and raise awareness. That's mostly what I can contribute, right?
That's great.
You are here, someone that's very into their field and they're doing amazing stuff. We are on one platform and we're discussing the future of the Gambia. And I can contribute to, bringing in ideas on how maybe you can use that to whatever it is that you're doing, And I'm also learning from you guys, right? Because I didn't know about the in-depth about the robotics that you guys that you're involved in. Neither was I knowledgeable enough on what it is that Joko Labs are currently doing. And at the end of the day, we do need to share ideas and actually implement them, not just to talk about them and ends there. So, and they say you should be very careful of lazy, ambitious people because they will always hold you down. And you guys are actually into something, you're doing something. So let's share ideas, let's collaborate and see how best we can move the country forward. Definitely. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do this, someone else is going to come and do it. And then we're going to go back to be like, these foreigners, they're the ones that are doing everything. They're importing, they're making bread, But we're here not doing anything about it. And someone is going to be like, oh, Gambian is the solution. Let's provide it, right? Is it GamSwitch? GamSwitch, they're responsible for
Payment gateway.
Payment gateway,
yeah,
right?
GamSwitch, yeah.
GamSwitch. The individuals, one of them is working in World Bank. I don't know if I should be discussing this. But F it.
Yeah.
Anyway, one individual in World Bank, there's another person that I don't remember exactly where they're in, but they're building a solution, right? That's better than GamSwitch. And what they're trying to build is you could actually send money from your Wave account to your GT Bank account to your EcoBank account, or from your AfriMoney account to your Wave account seamlessly. Yep. And this is something GamSwitch should have been doing, but they're not doing it. So a foreign company is going to come and do a better job than they're doing, and we're going to be like these foreigners.
I had the opportunity, to be in an audience, at a certain point, and then the leader of GamSwitch was actually part of the panel, and then that was one of the questions that I asked him, plain black and white. When are we going to get this? Because some of us have built applications. It's only that part that's really, let's say, the mega stuff.
Exactly.
How is someone going to pay you at the end of the subscription? It's always a problem. And then he made it very clear. No, 2022, second quarter we are going to release it. Now we are in 2024.
It's not.
Hopefully, this will get out there. Let him hear it. Like, we're still waiting. This is 2024. Until when?
And so many industry could emanate from that, the implementation of a project like that, because then e-commerce can actually pop up.
Oh, 1 million%.
I can have business where I can start receiving online payments, but that's impossible in Gambia. Even if you want to say open an account where you're selling stuff, people can pay you through their credit card because we don't have the infrastructure in place. You have that in Senegal.
I mean, in fact, sir, currently, if only they didn't restrict, I mean, the policy makers didn't restrict, Wave will definitely go in for that license.
Of
And at the
course.
moment they have it, that's,
Of course.
I mean, done. And then still
course.
we will be seated here and then we'll be like, oh, Wave. I mean, come on.
I think we have a lot of things to to discuss.
We have a lot of things to discuss, but
Yeah.
the takeaway from this is AI is the future. Mandel Fofala. But thank you guys so much for coming into this platform. It's been an amazing conversation. And you know, sometimes we have conversation, it sounds like it's heated. You know, we like to push buttons a little bit
Yeah, definitely.
and try to throw in ideas. And conversation should not always be comfortable.
Yep.
This is what I believe in. You should always risk offending someone simply to get to the truth than trying to please someone's ego. Because Gambia, we do a lot of that where we might want to say something even though it could be beneficial, but because we don't want to offend the individual, we don't say it. I'm not like that. But there's no hard feelings whatsoever. You know, I'm cool. We're all cool.
No,
We're all trying to change the Gambia for the better. We're not we're not trying to downplay your achievement or what it is that you're doing or what it is am I doing. Is we're exchanging ideas. So this I see it like a small networking panel, where we want to know what you're doing, and how we can exchange ideas, right? And this is how we can move forward as a country, in my opinion. Is to actually do, but collaborate, not at an individual. No, nobody can succeed as an island. And Gambia, we don't collaborate at all.
At all.
That's a big problem. I don't know if we don't like to collaborate or we don't know how to collaborate.
I think also, thank God, we have, you're an executive of ITAC, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I once attended their stuff. So I think, it's one, I'm not sure whether it's part of the mandate, but I think this is a job that they need to encourage a lot, because this is actually something that a lot of people behind the scene will say, this will have been their mandate, their responsibility. So thank God you're here, I'm here. I will put it out there because, what happened is I used to hear from the president always, yen GoMindz, nyoleng angels and subscription or something like that. And I went, oh, okay, auntie, I will come. I will definitely come. So if I'm, most of the time, if I'm talking to my friends, I was like, do you register with ITAC? And then because I have my staff who loves their annual event. Whenever the annual event, and then most of them, honestly, they go there for the good food.
Yeah.
So I do not have issue with them on that. So I do ask my friends, do you think it worth it in order to register for, ITAC? And then, some notable people in this country will tell me the question is, what is the value which they are actually providing out there? And I hold myself up. So like during the last time I went when they had the elections, like at the place at Bakau. I have a friend who had to drive me like you're coming with me today. So I went there. I listened to everything that literally happened. But I come to the conclusion what people were saying is like the gap is still there. So if you are trying to do exactly the same thing, people be like, oh, you didn't, I thought, Lila guy did. So I think also, the engagement has to be, more broadened in order to engage much of this IT sector, because he really nailed it. The collaboration is actually not working at all. We always have those three groups of people who are working together. Like, let's say for me and him, myself, him, and other, notable people. Sometimes, he comes to my place, or, I goes to someone's place, someone will go to someone's place. So I think, in any executive meeting that you have, that's my message. Yeah. Of course, you guys will engage more in bringing people together. It's not only about the food. It's not only about the event. Right? Because for me, honestly, my staff, they goes there always because of the food. Like I used to have this staff. He was like, no, bulldega. For me, if you don't want me to go, I will not go. But then I will ask you, please. Soon at 1 o'clock, buy madam. I was like, really?
Yeah.
So I do understand that. So, and then that's not how it should be. Out there, what motivates you the most is the meetups that we do have. We have a lot of incredible people who doesn't want to surface. People like Joe Business, Matar, Che, and other people that we do hang out. I know these are people who are incredible people who can definitely do it. But then, every time, if I ask this question, because I studied in a country whereby every Sunday fixed, there are meetups that definitely I will attend. So, I mean, this is where you reach incredible people that will definitely, you can collaborate with them. So that is actually a special message to, ITAC,
Okay.
you guys can definitely, I mean, thank God, I mean, my big brother, put it there, sometimes like you don't want to say some things because you don't want to hurt people, but then, I mean, leveraging on that, is something that, I mean, is being said out there. So giving in that feedback will be something that is definitely ideal. So we need to have this. I mean, this kind of podcast, we're also looking forward to have the session again and again and again, inshallah.
We haven't even touched on AGI, which is a whole different level on AI. But another time
sure.
And just yesterday, we were in the office with our colleagues. We were talking about women in STEM and women tech makers. What value are they actually creating? And ITAC came up, and we were like, Information Technology Association of the Gambia. I took my phone, I researched, and I found out that it was founded since 2004. And I asked this question, okay, since 2004 up to date, what exactly have these people been doing? Like, what value have they been creating? So I think you guys really need to step up, honestly.
Okay, thank you for the
Madeline,
recommendation.
the ball is in your court now.
We'll take that into consideration.